Who knows how many hours have passed as the main character sat down at the computer, immersed in the virtual world. This is Liam, a gamer and streamer who usually prefers to live stream. And this is his favorite survival game, Zombies Attack, which he has been playing numerous times, each time delving deeper into its world. Liam is glad he got a bat in the supply box instead of another weapon, as a stick is more practical when you need to stay silent. An unexpected notification makes the main character distract from the game. This is a donation, the first in long streams, making him feel excitement and gratitude to his viewers. Out of an immense sense of gratitude, Liam performs his trademark bow. But suddenly his thoughts are interrupted, and he falls out of his chair, feeling his body in reality for the first time in a long time. Returning to his place, the main character is interested in the subscriber's opinion on his behavior. However, he learns that during his slow distraction, he has already lost. Although this does not disappoint him much because he managed to survive, which means that he will not need to go through again so much. Another message comes from the viewer, forcing Liam to take his mind off his favorite game. In it, a viewer under the nickname The Only One is interested in how the streamer feels about the fact that he has only one follower, triggering an internal dialogue between Liam about his value as a streamer. The main character tries to laugh it off by saying that it is temporary to hide his doubts, although at this moment he looks and sounds not at all confident. He realizes that one viewer may not be so bad if it is really a person interested in his content. Suddenly, a sharp sound makes Liam jump out of his chair, suddenly interrupting his thoughts about the stream and drawing attention to the reality around him. He takes off his headphones to make sure he doesn't hear it, and the sound repeats, amplifying, which catches the protagonist off guard, causing them to feel anxious and uncertain. The rumble was repeated again. A piercing echo spread around the area, resounding strongly in the head of the main character. He runs to the window and opens the curtains to see what's going on outside. What he sees shocks Liam in a way he has never seen before, making him feel an unusual sense of vulnerability and helplessness. The entire city is on fire, like a ferocious sea of flames burning in uncontrollable fury, enveloping the surrounding buildings and streets in a hot embrace of danger and chaos. People flee the streets in panic, leaving the main character inside the building alone with the unknown. Liam turns to the monitor, remembering the stream, and notices that the computer is turned off, even though the protagonist is sure he didn't. Liam considers going outside, but isn't sure if it's a good idea, faced with an internal contradiction between desire and fear. Nevertheless, he decides to take this desperate step, realizing that he needs to find out the truth about what is happening and act, despite the dangers. A girl runs past the main character in a panic, causing him to worry about their safety. Liam tries to ask if she knows anything about what happened, but his words are lost in the noise of panic and screams. The girl doesn't pay any attention to him, only glancing at him with a glimpse of fear before running away from danger, leaving him in a state of even more anxiety and uncertainty. This behavior drives the main character into a stupor and instills even more anxiety, leaving him alone with his thoughts and fears. Liam does not notice that he is being watched all this time, as if he is the hero of a movie or a game. Only when he turns around, he notices a translucent chat window, which makes him doubt the reality of what is happening, and once again feel the fusion between the virtual and real worlds. He tries to check the reality of events by touching, but the virtual window cannot be touched. The protagonist notices an approaching shadow that grows in size and looms menacingly over him, causing an inner instinct of self-preservation. It turns out to be a zombie, just like from the game he recently played, like a terrible nightmare turned into reality and literally in front of his eyes. Liam still can't believe what is happening, his mind refusing to accept it as the truth, trying to find a logical explanation for everything that is happening. Up to this point, the slow-moving creature begins to run towards the protagonist, but luckily, Liam manages to put his leg out at the last moment, thereby stopping the zombies. Turning around, Liam runs to the house with all his strength to lock himself inside, his heart pounding as fast as if he is trying to break free. The zombie rushes after the protagonist, not wanting to lose sight of lunch. His steps sound like a menacing rumble, reminding Liam of the unbearable danger. Entering the house, Liam was sure that the strange creature had left him behind. But when he turned around, he saw a hand that was trying to grab him. The zombie breaks the glass. It seems that nothing can stop him. The muscles of the main character are tense like steel springs, ready to explode at any moment. The monster's eyes expressed nothing, only endless hunger and aggression filling its being, like darkness consuming everything in its path. Liam realizes that his only way to escape is the stairs, as the elevator will be a death trap for him. He tries to break away from the zombie that breathes down his neck. His every step is filled with perseverance and determination, despite the impending danger. The door to the roof is already visible on the next flight, and its image becomes a bright point for him in the darkness of horror. The main character pulls the handle, but he fails because for some reason the door was blocked. His fingers tremble with tension and anxiety when he tries to open the door. Meanwhile, the distance between Liam and the zombies is rapidly decreasing. To the incredible luck of the main character, the door to the roof opens. A wave of relief rolls over him. He presses himself against the door to prevent the door from opening under the pressure of his weight, his thoughts filled with a mixture of fear and determination. Liam builds barricades and decides that he is safe for a while, but his nerves remain on edge, ready to explode at any moment. A few seconds later, the main character, trying to come to his senses, notices a strange sound behind him. Each of his cells is tense, ready for action at any moment. Looking up, Liam notices something strange, his heart skipping in his chest as he realizes the new threat that awaits him. This is another zombie in whose face he recognizes the homeowner, but now he is no longer the pleasant man with whom Liam communicated. The vile creature clearly wants to try a piece of the protagonist's body. Fear overwhelms him like a storm ready to destroy everything in its path. In his attempts to escape, Liam trips over something and loses his balance, his body tense as he fights for his life. Already a former homeowner, he attacks the protagonist. His movements are filled with aggression, like a beast ready to tear apart its prey. Liam glances at the strange crate next to him, his mind racing to its limits, trying to find a way out of this situation. But then the zombie gets closer to the throat of the main character, making him feel the approaching threat of death. Liam's kick pushes the landlord away from him, his actions filled with despair and determination. The main character jumps up and begins to run away from the zombies. His thoughts are only about one thing, about salvation, and he is ready to do anything to stay alive. But he does not even think of leaving Liam alone. He roars at him. Every step is filled with rage and aggression. The main character moves away from the trajectory of the zombies to the side. His body works on autopilot, guided only by the instinct of survival. He is very lucky because they are near the end of the roof and the homeowner flies over it. The zombie falls to the ground, his body falling as a lifeless weight, reminding Liam that he just escaped death. Liam exhaled, overwhelmed by the incredible sense of luck that had not left him until now. He sat down, lost in thought about how long his luck would last and what steps he needed to take ahead. Suddenly, the door to the roof opened and a crowd of zombies loomed behind it, ready to enjoy his flesh. Turning his head sharply in the direction of the noise, Liam felt fear grip his throat, making it impossible to utter a word. He jumped up abruptly and began to retreat, looking at the crowd of zombies, unequivocally hinting at his imminent fate. But then he stumbles over some strange object again and notices that it is a supply crate, the same as from the game. This small discovery gave Liam a little hope, arousing in him the strength that would allow him to fight on. Opening the iron box, he realized with horror that the crowd of zombies was already too close. Inside the box is one of the most useful survival items in any apocalypse, a baseball bat. At this time, the zombies had already broken through the remaining barricades, ready to tear Liam apart. The protagonist gets into a stance, determined to fight back against the zombies, preparing to use every muscle of his body in this fight. Liam realizes that with a baseball bat, the chances of survival increase dramatically, realizing that it becomes his only chance for salvation. He runs forward towards the zombies, starting to brandish a bat, determined to stop the undead invasion. The main character confidently hits the first zombie, focusing all his energy on a precise blow. But for some reason, the bat does not hit the face of the vile creature, as it usually happens in games, making it feel the lack of skills in this serious confrontation. Liam loses his balance, trying to keep his balance. He still swings the bat left and right, experiencing mixed feelings of fear and determination. The main character realizes with regret that he does not know how to use the bat at all, so that the undead fly to pieces, as it usually happens in games. But the zombies don't plan to wait for Liam to figure out his survival skills. They attack him from all sides, exacerbating his anxiety and struggle for survival. As a result, Liam falls, unable to keep his balance and being in despair, realizing his powerlessness in the face of the onslaught of the Walking Dead. Suddenly, the protagonist comes up with the idea of a different way to use a baseball bat, giving hope for a new twist in this battle for survival. He breaks it into two pieces so that the bat has sharp edges, with which it is much more capable of killing zombies, giving it a new weapon in the fight for survival. He takes it like a spear and aims it directly at the zombie in front of him, focusing all his energy on a precise strike. Liam stabs the necks of vile creatures, thus saving himself from another pile of zombies, demonstrating determination and skill in battle. The blow fell directly on vital points, depriving the zombies of the ability to continue attacking. Liam struck with full determination to survive no matter what, showing his courage and resilience in this dangerous situation. Returning home after the adventure, the protagonist finds that everything is fine with his room, feeling relieved that his hideout has been left untouched. He changes into more comfortable clothes and collects all the most necessary things, preparing for new challenges. People from the virtual chat ask Liam about his upcoming plans, to which he replies that he is going to go to his parents, planning to reunite with loved ones at this difficult moment. Fortunately, he finds the keys to the bike, thereby making his journey faster and safer. The sky was already going down, there were no people on the street at all, creating an atmosphere of emptiness and solitude in this post-apocalyptic world. During the trip, Liam is annoyed by the useless comments of the audience, because he only cares about the fate of his loved ones. A sharp blow of unknown origin rushes past the protagonist, causing him to suddenly lose his balance. He falls off the bike, hitting himself, feeling sharp pain and panic before the unexpected blow. Liam tries to get up as soon as possible, before the unknown strikes again, already hitting him. In a split second, he analyzed the situation and determined that the blow was struck with his tongue, surprised to realize his new confrontation. Indeed, there was a frog-looking monster sitting in front of him, causing Liam to have mixed feelings of surprise and fear of the unknown. The main character did not expect to meet monsters in addition to zombies, realizing that the world after the apocalypse is full of unpredictable dangers. The Hellfrog dealt another swift blow to the main character, but fortunately, he manages to jump to the side. Liam runs from this monster with all his strength, trying to get away from it and save himself from a new threat. The frog hits the wall again, but the protagonist has already managed to turn the corner, continuing his journey in search of safety and survival. He continues to run, winding around the city to make it harder to get into it, using the environment to his advantage. Liam decides to retrieve his secret weapon, which he hastily collected at his home, preparing for the final showdown. Standing face to face with the Hellfrog, he waits for a new attack, remaining calm and focused. The monster was not long in coming. He throws himself with his whole body at the protagonist, but Liam expected this, and he walks aside, simultaneously throwing his weapon. It turned out to be an incendiary mixture that lands directly on the frog's back, causing panic and anxiety in the monster. Liam takes out another concoction and tosses it, trying to neutralize the danger. It goes straight into the frog's mouth, causing it unthinkable agony. But it's not enough to finish off the creature, forcing Liam to look for new methods of fighting. He immediately realized that the mouth was the weak point of this creature. So he took out the last incendiary mixture he had made, preparing for a risky move. The main character is going to take a risk because he has no other choice. Inside, he hopes to win. They stand opposite each other to land one precise blow and defeat their opponent, entering the final phase of the battle for survival. The Hellfrog strikes first with its tongue, which is what Liam was counting on as he prepared for a counterattack. He throws an incendiary mixture with all his might directly into the monster's mouth, trying to neutralize it. And it hits, making an accurate blow and hitting the enemy, who is now all on fire. 3 hits are enough for Liam to knock down this monster, ending the fight with victory. At this time, the virtual chat rejoices and admires the courage and ingenuity of the protagonist, expressing its support. Liam can't believe that he has dealt with the Hellfrog. A virtual voice tells him that this is just the beginning, reminding him that the trials will only intensify. The protagonist does not understand what is expected of him and why he should risk his life in this game, feeling vague anxiety and bewilderment. Suddenly, a blue screen flashes in front of Liam, which notifies him that he has one skill point that can unlock new opportunities for the protagonist. Liam chooses a skill with concentration and stops at the name Taunt, which increases physical strength for each monster hit, aiming to improve his chances of survival. After choosing a skill, the achievement window immediately slams shut, disappearing into space, leaving Liam with a sense of mystery and bewilderment. Liam decides to deal with the skills that came out of nowhere later. Now his priority is to find out if his parents are alive, feeling worried about their fate. As he approaches the motorcycle, he notices that it is broken after being attacked by the Hellfrog, realizing the magnitude of the danger he faced. Night was already creeping up on the city, shrouding it in darkness and creating an atmosphere of mystery and threat. As he approaches his parents' house, he notices something strange, feeling unusual and tense in the air. Someone had bitten off half of the house, causing Liam to be shocked and anxious for the safety of his loved ones. The main character rushes into his parents' apartment to find out what is wrong with them, realizing that every second is important. He shouts to the whole apartment, wondering where his parents are and experiencing despair and anxiety. After a few minutes of searching, he discovers that no one is home. The protagonist tries to understand what happened to his parents, feeling mixed feelings of anxiety and worry. His parents are pedantic. They should have left at least a note to explain their disappearance. The realization comes abruptly. The probability is high that the parents could have left the note in his room. He approaches the desk at which he spent a lot of time in the not-so-distant past, and actually finds a note on it. What he sees incredibly surprises Liam when he reads the contents of the note, coming to unexpected conclusions. The note said that his parents had gone with the military to the 75th Division, causing Liam even more questions and doubts. At this time, in a virtual chat, they discuss what is happening, coming to the conclusion that the parents left their son, causing excitement on the network. The note seems strange to Liam. This behavior is not like his father. He would not be one of the first to leave, leaving his home, causing him to doubt the veracity of the information. This thought prompts the main character that this is another plot twist, and he needs to find a protagonist to understand what is happening. He is going to move towards the 75th Division in search of his parents. This is his only clue, feeling that this is his only way to find answers. But before that, he decides to stock up on supplies. It will not be superfluous to be ready for a long and dangerous journey. He finds some tin cans of beans and decides to refresh himself with them before leaving, providing himself with the necessary supplies of food. He comes to the table, ready to pack up and go on a long journey. A sharp sound makes him turn around. Something strange happens, causing him distrust and tension. He picks up a kitchen knife, the largest he sees, prepared for any eventuality. Leaving the kitchen, Liam heads towards the hall, carefully sneaking around, being on guard. The sound once again comes from behind him, as if from the street, forcing him to tense up and be vigilant. The main character quickly runs to the window to see for himself, preparing for a possible threat. He opens the window and looks outside, trying to see the source of the noise and determine the threat. As soon as he took out his hand, someone grabbed him from the outside, forcing Liam to come face to face with an unexpected danger. An unknown creature begins to pull the main character towards itself, trying to pull him out of the apartment. Liam stabs the zombie's hand with all his strength, trying to repel the attack and protect his home. He slams the window shut so that no one can get inside, reinforcing the defenses of his shelter. Liam is trying to catch his breath after another encounter with danger when his taunt ability activates, keeping his morale up. The main character also notices this, which makes him feel more confident, supporting his determination and strength in the fight. He pulls a hammer out of his backpack, eager to take down all the zombies, preparing for a new wave of attacks. Meanwhile, the zombies begin their attack. They are already starting to break into the front door, threatening to enter the house. Liam decides not to wait for his fate and opens it himself, ready to face the enemy. He immediately hits the first zombie on the head, trying to break their resistance and repel the attack. Blood splashes on the face of the main character, reminding him of the mortal danger that surrounds him. The next zombies will suffer the same fate. Liam swiftly strikes at their heads, increasing his strength and fighting to the last. After a few minutes of fierce battle, all the zombies were defeated, giving Liam a brief relief. It seemed to the main character that everything was already done, but the sound coming from the kitchen makes him alert again, reminding him of the unpredictable danger. He quickly goes to the kitchen to find out who is there, a zombie or some other creature ready for a new clash. Liam carefully approaches, trying to hear every rustle, ready for battle. The sound from under the table makes him tense. All instincts tell him to hit. leaving him on the verge of tension and fear. It turns out that this is the man who looks at Liam with frightened eyes, causing the protagonist to have mixed feelings of confusion and sympathy. On the stove, a dish is prepared, probably from those canned cans that the main character found earlier. The same person from under the table prepares this delicious-smelling dish, enhancing the aroma of hope and possible salvation. Meanwhile, Liam ponders whether or not to eat a dish prepared by a stranger, oscillating between hunger and suspicion. Since he has not eaten anything for a long time, the main character decides to eat at all costs, and if a stranger tries to poison him, he will be ruthless. The dish looks very appetizing, the steam emanating from it, igniting Liam's imagination and whetting his appetite. Liam is surprised at what an amazing dish was prepared for him from those cans, feeling a pleasant surprise at the unexpected treat. An unknown person introduces himself as Joe. He works as a cook in a cafe near the apartment of the main character's parents. Liam politely introduces himself to a stranger, also giving his name, trying to maintain politeness and respect. He remembers again how they met when Liam almost mistook Joe for a zombie. Only the lack of a killing intent saved the cook. The main character definitely likes what Joe cooked. After all, it is not for nothing that he works in the kitchen, recognizing the talent and skill of the cook. Liam says that after the meal, he will leave here emphasizing his plans and intentions. Joe liked this news. He begins to ask the main character to take him with him. Liam, on the contrary, does not really like this idea. Traveling together can reduce the chances of survival. Joe mentions an evacuation point at a nearby school, and upon hearing about it, Liam realizes that this could be the key to their salvation and decides to take Joe with her. The cook, in turn, promises to help Liam get to Hesim school, where, according to him, there should be people. After the meal, Liam, feeling ready for new challenges, rises from the table, ready for action. Their next step is outside, where a cold wind reminds them of the turbulent times that have come into the city. Joe says that he saw a bicycle outside and begins to pack his things to hit the road. Meanwhile, Liam quickly retrieves a hammer from his backpack, which has become his trusty weapon in the fight against zombies. Suddenly, a strange sound comes from the shadows, causing the protagonist to turn around, ready for a new threat. Liam turns to him and can't say a word, shocked by what he sees. A huge zombie, more like a titan, grabs Joe and tries to eat him. The main character cannot believe his eyes, how such a huge monster could sneak up on them so unnoticed. In his final moments, Joe's face was filled with tears. He didn't want to die, and his despair was felt in his every move. Liam stood motionless, watching his companion's death, unable to take his eyes off the horrible sight. Suddenly, he realizes that when the zombie stops chewing on Joe, he will go after him, and this made him act faster. Liam grabbed the bike and began pedaling with all his might, eager to get away from this nightmare as soon as possible. However, out of the corner of his eye, he noticed movement behind him and realized that the monster had already started hunting him, closing the distance by the second. Liam tried to speed up, continuing to increase the distance between himself and the monster. Suddenly, a bike that looked like Joe's caught his eye, and it was his last hope of salvation. Without hesitation, he rushed to the bike, getting on it and realizing that this was his only chance to avoid the monster. With each turn of the pedal, Liam felt his chances of escape becoming more real. Soon he felt the speed increase, and the hope of survival revived his tired body and mind. But the monster does not plan to let go of its victim so easily, preparing for the next attack. Liam presses the gas with all his strength. This is his last chance to break away, determined not to give up for a second. His whole life flashes before his eyes. The Titan screams loudly, but this cannot scare the main character. He will not give up so easily. With each scream of the Titan, his determination only strengthens. Hours later at Hesim School, the last citizens gather at the evacuation point, discussing plans and hoping for the best. An unknown man asks the policeman not to close the gate, as his subordinate Joe has not yet reached the point, begging with alarm in his voice, worried for the fate of his friend. However, the policeman has an order. He cannot help the owner of the cafe in any way, feeling powerless, but following his duties. This infuriates the man. He does not understand how the police can ignore the rescue of a person. His voice is filled with anger and despair. The rest ask the owner of the cafe to calm down and not make a fuss. It is hard for all of them. Joe's motorcycle approaches at high speed, causing nervous tension among everyone present. The bike accelerated too much. They are concerned about possible danger and are ready for any development of events. The motorcycle stops right in front of the crowd and Liam disembarks, creating a moment of mystery and tension in the air, while the eyes of everyone around him are fixed on him. The owner of the cafe, looking at the bike, suddenly learns that it belonged to Joe, and this sudden discovery leads to anxiety for the fate of his subordinate. In the light of the headlights, you can see that all this time a mysterious object was attached to the back of the motorcycle, adding intrigue and raising questions about its origin and purpose. It turns out that this is the severed finger of a monster which has an impressive size, which suddenly plunges everyone into a state of shock and makes the audience closely watch the unforeseen guest, whose appearance seems mysterious and frightening. Liam calmly climbs off the bike, feeling his presence make an impression on the crowd, causing curiosity and alarm in their eyes. The owner of the cafe approaches the main character. His face expresses deep concern. It is clear that he cares about the fate of the employee, and he seeks to find out what happened to Joe. Despite the tense situation, Liam unceremoniously replies that Joe is dead, thus revealing the tragic fate of his comrade. The head of the transport security department approaches the main character. His appearance arouses interest in connection with recent events. He expresses his interest in what happened and whether Liam really killed this monster. The protagonist, surprised that the boss already knows about the Titan he was running away from, realizes that his past and present are becoming a subject of interest and discussion. The head of the transport security department notes with regret that several of his people died because of this monster, recalling the tragic consequences of the collision with the Titan, to which Liam calmly replies that he has already managed to deal with him, showing confidence in his strength and ability to cope with difficulties. All those gathered at the gates of the school are shocked by what they heard, experiencing a moment of unexpected revelation and realizing the scale of the events that took place. Time rolls back a few hours where Liam is about to deal with the Titan, preparing for decisive action and planning a strategy. He comes up with a great idea. A plan arises that can change the outcome of events. Although his life is at stake and the chances of survival are not so great, Liam is ready to take risks to counter the threat. Meanwhile, the monster catches up with the protagonist, not noticing the obstacle in front of him and demonstrating his aggression and ruthlessness. In the eyes of the Titan, one can read only a thirst to satisfy hunger, showing his unquenchable thirst for destruction and violence. Liam sets out to deal with the monster by putting on a spectacle for the spectators watching its journey. But in return, he asks the virtual chat to do him a favor in return if he survives, demonstrating his willingness to compromise to achieve his goal. With a face filled with determination, the main character rushes forward. The chat also likes the show he put on, absorbed in excitement and adrenaline. The main character is satisfied with his idea and confident in the correctness of his decision, feeling inner confidence and motivation to act. He heads towards the tunnel at full speed, aiming for the Titan collision site, ready to take on the challenge. The monster is getting closer and closer to him, approaching the moment of confrontation and resolution of the situation. Liam drives into the tunnel, engaging in a dangerous game with the threat that awaits him. The monster, filled with thirst for blood, does not notice that a trap awaits him, becoming a victim of his own aggression and imprudence. With all his strength, he hits a concrete wall. His speed has become his weakness. He flies back and finds his doom, unable to get up again. Liam told his story to the head of the transport security department, telling everything in the brightest colors and details, sharing his experiences and impressions of what happened. The main character tries to get inside as he is tired from the road, sincerely seeking to rest after tense events and trials. But the head of the transport security department demands that everyone first be tested for infection. All citizens are happy that there will be a person next to them who is able to withstand mortal danger, feeling relieved and protected from the presence of such a person in their close environment. People take turns lining up to be screened, following instructions and demonstrating their willingness to obey the rules. Meanwhile, while Liam is being tested, there is a lively discussion in the chat about the cause of the Titan's death. They are trying to figure out if it was a natural cause or not. Liam is walking towards the school to rest after a busy day when suddenly he hears someone calling him. It is the owner of the cafe who wants to know what happened to Joe, suddenly bringing back to his memory past events. To which the main character replies that the monster prevented them from coming to the evacuation point together, justifying himself in front of the owner of the cafe. Liam also mentions the bike He says that Joe allowed him to take it, sharing important details and circumstances that affect the situation. With the cutest expression on his face, the main character talks about their last meal with the chef, saying that it was one of the most delicious dishes he ate. These words incredibly touch the owner of the cafe. Meanwhile, in a virtual chat, they discuss the acting skills of the main character, reflecting on his actions and motivation. Liam leaves for school, as he still wants to relax, seeking to find a secluded place to reflect. But as soon as he approaches the building, he notices a blue line appearing out of nowhere, causing surprise and bewilderment. Suddenly, the whole earth was filled with this incomprehensible blue color, and an inscription appeared at the head of the main character with a notification that he had successfully completed the training. Liam was horrified that everything he had experienced before was only training. He quickly walks down the corridor in search of a secluded corner where he could think about what is happening in the area. Liam breaks into the furthest office, seeking solitude and an opportunity to gather her thoughts. The face of the main character is filled with determination. He wants to understand what is happening at all costs. Liam opens a virtual chat and reminds them that they promised to do him a favor if he survives the showdown with the Titan. His only desire is to find out what is going on in this world. The one with whom the main character wants to talk is his viewer under the nickname, the only one who can give answers to his questions. The only one tells Liam that his task is to clean up the game, after which he will be able to change the world as he sees fit. Also, the main character learns that only he is a real person. All other people are only copies of those living in the real world. At this very moment, Liam realizes that he is really in a game that can only be eliminated by defeating everyone. The main character is the protagonist. He is the only one who can communicate with the virtual chat and interact with it. Liam realizes that Joe's death wasn't real either, just another character in the game who died. The protagonist has only one chance to get out of the game, to win, realizing that his future depends on his current actions and decisions. He directs his gaze into the mirror. There are still so many questions to ask, so many answers to be received, feeling alone in this world. The protagonist wonders if he can be called the god of this game, reflecting on his role and influence on the world around him. The one replies that it's a funny question, causing Liam to smile and feel ironic. Liam is confident that his viewer, who has been watching his streams for a long time, will not betray him, feeling supported during this difficult period. The only one wants to see the main character win the game, but Liam himself is not very confident in his abilities. The protagonist decides that by analogy with his favorite game, he also has access to a window of information, which he immediately activates and learns that the chief of police needs protection. People crowded on the school grounds, although it was already late in the evening, but no one could sleep. Liam also went outside after the information he received. He urgently needed to find the chief of police. Police officers blocked the fence with metal to deter zombies who might be wandering nearby. The townspeople also helped. Together they dragged things, prepared for dinner, demonstrating unity and solidarity in a difficult situation. The police announced that it was time for dinner and everyone could come to the food counter, giving residents the opportunity to get the necessary resources to maintain their strength. Liam was still wondering who or what might have threatened the chief of police, since there were so many people here. Residents began to approach the distribution of food, showing a willingness to take part in the general life of the community and interact with the organizers. However, the main character had much more important things to do, so he simply walked past the counter where dinner was served, focusing on his personal goals and mission. As Liam approached the main school building, he was called out and called to eat again. The patrolman who was standing at the entrance to the main building asked the main character about the purpose of his coming to the main building, demonstrating vigilance and concern for safety. Liam immediately said that he needed a police chief and that he was going to him, showing frankness and directness in his intentions. The patrolman tensed up sharply, his face covered with sweat. It was obvious that something was wrong here, causing Liam to worry and suspect what was happening. He turned away from the protagonist, thus trying to hide his confusion, maintaining his role and trying to avoid further questions. Liam was alerted by this. He decided to put pressure on the policeman to find out the truth. To do this, he pointed to the radio in the patrolman's breast pocket so that he could contact the head of the transport security department. The patrolman complied with Liam's request, promptly calling the leader, who asked to find out if the main character would be able to deal with the monsters. The patrolman's face paled even more, but Liam gave a positive answer without hesitation. However, the patrolman could not be very happy about the additional help in the person of the main character, as it turns out that the police chief has disappeared. Liam was very surprised to hear this news because it means that he is late and the city may be in serious danger. The patrolman also mentioned that they plan to start looking for their boss soon. Liam asked the police officer to let him into the temporary office to find some useful information about the police chief's recent actions. He approached the patrolman as he wanted to convey his demands better. Liam urged the police officer to cooperate with him to increase the chances of finding the police chief. It was clear that the behavior of the main character frightened the patrolman, but at least Liam did not meet any resistance. Liam went up to the third floor where the temporary police headquarters was located and where the chief's office was located. The room looked spacious and empty, as if no one had been here for a long time. The main character asks viewers from the virtual chat to help him find leads. A few seconds later, Liam notices a map on the table, on which a dot is marked in red. The main character approaches her to take a closer look, trying to get additional information and understand the situation. He carefully examines the map to guess where else the chief of police could go, analyzing the possible places of his stay and actions. Suddenly, the protagonist hears approaching footsteps outside the door and turns his head, ready to respond to the threat. Someone is standing behind the door. It's hard to tell by the silhouette. Liam is waiting for the actions of the unknown. The door to the office opens abruptly. The shrill creak of the door hinges reverberates through the room, as if portending something mysterious and dangerous. An unknown man in a police uniform enters and introduces himself as Police Inspector Ethan. He extends his hand towards Liam to greet him, showing courtesy and intent to make contact. But instead of a light handshake, the main character faces the steel grip of the inspector. Ethan's gaze becomes piercing. He tries to find out what information Liam currently has. This behavior takes the main character by surprise, and at this time in the virtual chat, they want him to show his courage. The sharp scream causes Liam to tense up and distract himself from their altercation, drawing attention and causing alarm about what is happening. The protagonist runs downstairs to find out what is happening outside and sees the frightened face of the policeman. The cause of the commotion was the appearance of a walking dead among the evacuees. People began to flee in panic, but the zombie attack was already unstoppable. Even among the police, infected people have already appeared, posing even more threats to the residents of the city. The main character in the turmoil began to think about his further actions. First of all, he takes his hammer out of his backpack to fight back against those who dare to attack him. The protagonist goes straight to the center of the crowd, wanting to save as many people as possible, while the rest flee in panic. Liam hits the first zombie, responding to the threat with a decisive and powerful blow to protect himself and his comrades from danger. At the same time, useless policemen stand dead in their tracks, unable to move. Then out of nowhere, the owner of the cafe runs to the main character, who is ready to help Liam in the fight against zombies. Thus, the owner of the cafe wants to avenge the death of his subordinate, because it was because of the zombie that Joe died. Liam continues to attack the undead, swinging his hammer right and left, showing determination and fighting them with full force. The owner of the cafe notices that the main character does not finish off the zombies, but only inflicts minor damage, realizing that such tactics may be ineffective in the fight against danger. Then he decides to finish off the zombies himself in order to increase his chances of survival, taking responsibility for his safety and acting accordingly. Liam throws a few more punches, blood flying in all directions, continuing his attack with maximum determination and strength. People begin to rush to the exit from the newly fenced area, but the police try to restrain their pressure. Liam notices that the police are in no hurry to open the gate and begins to suspect them of some kind of conspiracy. He is outraged that someone could let zombies into the school grounds. Liam decides that the first thing to do is to urgently find the chief of police so that the situation in the city does not worsen, and the local police will deal with the infected themselves. But before leaving, he asks the owner of the cafe to monitor the situation at the school, because this is the only person he can trust so far. The owner of the cafe listens carefully to the main character, listening to his words and trying to understand the essence of the situation. Liam runs towards the fence with the goal of getting out of the school grounds before it's too late. Just before leaving, the head of the transport security department blocks his road with a request that the main character not leave them in difficult times. Liam decides to warn him too, so that he can keep a closer eye on what is happening. Behind all the fuss is Inspector Ethan, clearly dissatisfied with the protagonist's guesswork. Liam finds his bike, which he had so prudently parked at a nearby diner. The main character believes that the police will cope with the zombies, and it will be better for him to go in search of the chief of police. He arrives at the point that was marked in red on the map at the police headquarters and sees a small building in front of him. The protagonist walks around it and looks inside through the window to find useful information. After a few minutes of searching, Liam finds traces of several dozen people or animals. He carefully studies the tracks, trying to figure out who they were, carefully analyzing each trace. Unexpectedly, Liam wonders why he hasn't found any more supply crates, to which the viewers in the virtual chat answer him that he has previously spoken negatively about the boxes, while Liam in turn completely denies this. The audience tells him that the boxes are paid and he has already managed to spend the trial yen at the very beginning when he first meets the zombies. The main character hears about the existence of paid content in this game for the first time, which makes him pay attention to a new aspect of the game world. He begins to explore the features available to him, trying to understand what opportunities may open up and how this can affect his gaming experience. After a while, he does find an icon that most likely shows the possibilities of paid content, discovering a new aspect of the game and its potential benefits. A scoreboard appears in front of him which says that the sponsorship chat has been disabled all this time. The new information puts the protagonist in complete shock, making him realize that the game world is more complex than he thought. This gives him feelings of despair, which Liam hasn't felt in a long time, because he missed so much due to his ignorance. Having calmed down, the main character is going to inspect the house from the inside in an attempt to find something useful. He walks in and finds that this is one small room with all the comforts. Liam communicates with the viewers of the chat and convinces himself and them that what happened a few minutes ago cannot upset him in any way. He examines the room, trying to understand whether the chief of police could be kept here. Suddenly, a zombie begins to knock on the window, seeing its potential victim in the face of the main character. Liam is incredibly frightened by this, and at the same time, his taunt skill begins to take effect. Zombies continue to try to break through the glass, not wanting to leave the protagonist alone. Liam kicks down the door and hits the zombie in the face, who was already sneaking up on the house. This attack attracts the attention of the rest of the undead and increases the physical activity bonus. The main character attacks zombies, becoming stronger with each blow. Completely surrounded by the walking dead, Liam hears the sound of a car approaching. She breaks into the crowd at full speed, crushing several monsters at the same time. Thus, the car forces Liam to jump to the side to save his life. The headlights make it difficult to see the driver's face, but the main character has already managed to assume that it is Ethan, a police inspector. The car window is darkened, which further reduces the chances of recognizing the driver's face. However, it does turn out to be Inspector Ethan, who is visibly surprised that Liam is still alive. Then the inspector decides to deal with the problem in the person of the main character with his own hands, and presses the gas pedal with all his strength. Liam sees a car with a distraught man behind the wheel coming at him at full speed. The inspector is sure that these will be the last seconds of the protagonist's life. However, for some reason, he knocks down another zombie. Ethan is at a loss as to where Liam could have gone. An unexpected knock on the glass makes the inspector shudder. He clearly did not expect this. It is the main character who very persistently asks the inspector to open the door for him. Without waiting for Ethan to have time to come to his senses, Liam breaks the window of the car to be able to get it. However, the inspector is not going to give up without a fight. He takes out his weapon. The bullet passes by Liam a few centimeters from his head. Everything could have ended sadly if not for the increased physical capabilities of the main character. The inspector decides that his life is more important than Liam's death and tries to leave. But unfortunately for Ethan, the main character still has the taunt skill. Therefore, the main character can run at the speed of a car and maybe even faster. The inspector realizes that he cannot escape and decides to destroy Liam in another way. He drives up to several iron transfer boxes that have been prudently transported here. The inspector drives between them, obviously preparing some kind of setup for the main character. Meanwhile, Liam is getting closer and closer to the inspector's car. The policeman takes out his secret weapon, the remote control of these boxes. He presses a button, activating the mechanism. Metal crates begin to open and zombies run out of them in droves, heading straight for Liam. The main character instantly becomes surrounded by a crowd of zombies, ready to pounce on him at any minute. Throwing a wild grin at the end, the inspector is about to leave this place. Only laughter can be heard from the car leaving in the night, its sounds fading smoothly into the darkness. With taunts still active, Liam decides he has a chance to defeat all the zombies. He delivers a swift blow to the first creature, thereby increasing his strength. Only a mad look can be seen in the whirlwind of blows. Liam does not plan to give up. After another blow, the main character realizes that there are too many zombies, and he does not want to miss the inspector. Therefore, Liam considers the right moment to get out of the ring of zombies surrounding him. He jerks towards the departing car. The main character rapidly develops speed, becoming even stronger, and gradually catches up with the car. The distance between them is getting smaller, and some sounds begin to come from the car. The inspector is talking to someone on the radio, agreeing on plans to transport the chief of police. Liam managed to hear the beginning of the conversation, which interested him very much, because this was exactly the information he was looking for. The inspector tries to defend himself from the main character who grabbed him with a weapon, but Liam was more agile and managed to intercept his hand. Ethan then tries to grab a spare weapon that he has on the left side. However, the main character notices the inspector's maneuver and grabs him by the arm. He presses so hard that he breaks all the bones in his palms. The inspector begins to scream in pain and wonders who the main character is, to which Liam quite casually replies that he is a streamer who is very much loved by his viewers. He decides to take the inspector's car for himself, so he kicks him into the passenger seat. Ethan loses consciousness from a strong blow. He clearly lost this battle, but he does not yet know what awaits him next. In the car, the protagonist discovers the handcuffs and decides that it is a good idea to tie up the inspector. He ties him by his broken arms so that the inspector cannot move. Liam rushes at full speed into a crowd of zombies, not even thinking of slowing down the speed of the car. He knocks down all the obstacles in his path because he rather needs to find the chief of police. The main character realizes that the information he was given about him said that the boss was kept at school, which means that Liam should not have come here at all. Suddenly, the main character notices a strange movement on the road. This is an unexpected phenomenon because they have not come across anyone for a long time. This is an incomprehensible creature that looks like a white teddy bear, which decided to cross the road right now. Liam no longer has time to stop the car and prepare for a collision. He knocks the plush toy down at full speed, the force of the impact causing it to leap into the air for a moment before it falls to the ground with a soft rustle. The main character screams from the fact that emotions overwhelm him, because it is not every day that you meet a toy that walks around the night city. Less than a minute later, the bear stood up again, as if nothing had happened. They look at each other, eye to eye, Liam still trying to figure out what kind of creature it is. The plush toy turned around and ran away towards the trees where it was going. Uncomprehending, Liam decided to ask the audience in a virtual chat, deciding that they should be aware of what was happening. It turns out that the plush toy is quite harmless and shows the way to the supply box. Such news shocked the main character. At this time, the inspector moved, clearly recovering from Liam's stunning blow. The protagonist decides to arrange a poll among his viewers. He wants to know what they will choose to send the inspector back to sleep, in a polite way or with a stun gun. Despite the unanimous decision of the chat, Liam chooses his path, a stun gun. The last seconds in his mind, Ethan asks the main character to postpone such a dangerous decision. Liam is going to follow the bear, given that the inspector will not come to his senses soon. After a few minutes of wandering among the trees, a plush toy leads him to a supply chest. He is standing in the grass and has a shield sign on it. Liam learns that the price of such a box is 5 yen. The protagonist finds this price very expensive and is not sure if he should open the chest in case the item inside does not justify its cost. But still, the main character decides that anything will be useful to him, and when he will meet another box is still unknown. He opens the supply chest and finds a simple red flashlight in it. The main character is definitely upset by such a simple find. He is still trying to understand how the flashlight can help him protect himself from monsters. Meanwhile, Haisim's school had already managed to deal with the zombies that had infiltrated the area. The police helped the last wounded and checked everyone for infections, talking about what had happened in between. The head of the transport security department intervenes in the conversation of the police. He assures everyone that the problem was not in breaking the rules and asks to continue to provide assistance to citizens. The head of the department's eyes sharply hardened. He still had unfinished business. He met with a police officer to find out about the latest developments related to Inspector Ethan. It turns out that the head of the Transportation Security Department is also involved in the conspiracy, as is the policeman who guarded the main entrance. The news that the police chief needs to be transported clearly does not please the head, but he begins to guess that this is due to the departure of the main character. He tells the policeman involved in the betrayal to rely on him. He will deal with everything himself. All this time, their conversation was overheard by the owner of the cafe, who responsibly fulfilled Liam's request. He realized that something was not clean here, and he needed to find someone who could help him. The owner of the cafe runs to a building away from this place in order to find Liam to tell him everything. Meanwhile, the inspector's car had already driven up to the school. The patrolling police found it. The owner of the cafe runs down the stairs at full speed, trying to find Liam. He realizes that 3 police officers are involved in a conspiracy against the chief of police, and he is in serious danger. Suddenly, right in front of his face, a hand appears blocking his way. This is the main character who arrived at school in the inspector's car and changed clothes to be more inconspicuous at school. Liam asks the owner of the cafe to calmly tell everything he knows, but he in turn begins to accuse the main character that he was already aware of what was happening, and he should have told everyone and not tried to figure it out himself. The owner of the cafe tells Liam that the police chief is in the basement and the head of the transport security department has already come down to him. The main character is surprised by such news. He understands that there is not much time left to save the chief of police. Immediately, Liam goes down to the basement and carefully tries to find out what is going on inside. Meanwhile, the head of the transport security department tried to get information from the police chief, who was tied up by brute force. He takes out a stun gun to knock out his prisoner so that he can be easily transported to another location. Liam prepares to intervene when he receives a task from a viewer for money, who asks him to knock the head of the Transportation Security Department off his foot. Not for a second, without hesitation, the main character comes out of his hiding place and runs at speed to save the chief of police. He hits the head with 2 feet, who clearly did not expect him to appear here, thereby completing tasks and earning money. He in turn flies several meters and hits the cabinets, which also fly apart from the collision. Without hesitation, the traitor draws a weapon from his holster. But this movement is intercepted by Liam, thereby saving the lives of herself and the chief of police. The main character hits the head of the Transport Security Department with his knee so that he releases the weapon from his hand. However, he still manages to shoot, but misses because Liam is still holding him. The main character punches the head in the face, thereby venting his anger on the head of the Transport Security Department. The next blow is for plotting against the chief of police, exposing the safety of all the inhabitants of the city. Liam strikes the final blow because of their betrayal. He had a hard time risking his life. The main character understands that it is time for him to stop and demands that he be given the keys to the handcuffs. But the head of the Transport Security Department does not plan to give up so easily. He climbs to the stun gun to avenge his humiliation. But Liam is ahead of him, hitting his stun gun right in the stomach. He presses the stun gun into the body of the head of the Transport Security Department with all his strength. The main character notices that someone is rapidly descending, deciding that this is probably the 3rd participant in the conspiracy. He steps aside, about to deal with him, determined in his actions. Liam held out his hand with his gun, wanting to deal with the new threat. As soon as the policeman appears from behind the door, the main character immediately shoots, hitting directly in the head. The traitor had no chance of survival. Liam watches with full concentration as he drops dead. For such a show, the viewers of the virtual chat thank the main character with money, which makes him unspeakably happy. Being excited about what happened, he decides to continue the spectacle and turns his head towards the head of the Transport Security Department. He in turn is horrified that a simple civilian dared to kill a policeman, because now he cannot know for sure what fate Liam has prepared for him. The protagonist brings the gun to the traitor's forehead with a look full of determination. When asked not to kill, Liam only replies that it's time for the head to start getting used to this attitude towards himself. The main character comes into ecstasy from the fact that in a few minutes of the performance, he managed to earn a lot of money. The head of the Transport Security Department is horrified by Liam's behavior. He experiences such a mixture of fear and despair that his body can't stand it, and he urinates right into his pants. Meanwhile, the owner of the cafe tells the other police officers who are definitely not involved in the plot, asking them to help Liam. Suddenly, the door from the basement opens and the main character comes out of it, carrying the rescued chief of police. He briefly describes the situation inside and hands over his burden to the other police officers to take care of him. Now, the residents will deal with what happened themselves. Liam no longer needs to worry about the life of the chief of police. He is saved. The main character looks at the calm night sky, experiencing a sense of satisfaction and tranquility. It opens an information window where the text has already been updated, which says that in no case should you stay in one place for a long time. The next day in the back room on the school grounds, silence reigns among the shelves covered with a layer of dust. Liam rests after a hard day and remembers how grateful everyone was to him for coming back and saving the chief of police. Even in the dining room, they did not spare him buns, despite the fact that there were not many of them anyway. But the updated text on the scoreboard with information did not give Liam peace. He has so many questions that have no answers, and it is unlikely that he will be able to find them except to experience them for himself. The main character jumps up and packs his things. He decided to take a walk to ventilate and think everything over again. He approaches the parking lot where the police officer is parked when someone calls him by name from behind. It was the police chief who saw Liam walking towards the car and decided that he was leaving them without saying goodbye. The police chief once again thanks the main character for saving his life. After a few minutes of conversation, Liam finds out that the traitors are planned to be released. The police chief argues that excessive cruelty will have a bad effect on the emotional state of residents. Liam asks the police chief for permission to sort it out for himself. He knows a solution that will suit everyone. This alerted the chief of police, but he sees no point in refusing his savior. Already in the car, Liam and his boss are driving outside the school at high speed. Behind them, two traitors are dragged by ropes tied to the car, who somehow keep up with the speed they have accelerated. A crowd of zombies chases them, wanting to tear off a tasty morsel from someone else's flesh. Despite the high speed, the monsters also do not plan to stop, reducing the distance to their victims with every second. Liam decides it's time to slow down so as not to interfere with the undead from doing justice. He looks out of the car and notices that only pieces of the ropes remain, and the traitors are no longer visible. The main character notes that there is no way to help the conspirators, and that this is a good way to solve the problem, because they did not get their hands dirty in someone else's blood. It's night, and Liam is still sitting in the car that the chief of police gave him as a token of appreciation for his rescue. The protagonist is still trying to figure out why a simple flashlight can cost as much as 5 yen. Deciding to postpone these reflections for later, Liam plans to take some rest to regain her strength. But as soon as he closes his eyes, an inner feeling of uneasiness makes him jump back up. An incomprehensible cold spreads around the area, making the main character tremble all over his body. In the rear window of the car, Liam notices the shadow of a creature. He tries to assess how dangerous this creature is. It turns out to be not an ordinary creature, but the Reaper of Death, who this time came for Liam. The main character also saw the gloomy silhouette of the guest, which frightened him incredibly much. Liam immediately starts the car, wanting to get away from this creepy creature as soon as possible. He sincerely prays for his salvation because he understands that he has never met a scarier monster in this game. Liam drives out of the school at full speed. Fortunately, the police haven't closed the gate yet, so he drives through calmly. The main character realizes that he did not fulfill the last request of the chief of police. He did not say goodbye to the residents. Liam turns his head to see if he was able to break away from the Death Reaper, only to find that the back is empty. However, this monster is not so easy to escape, because it is already at the car a few centimeters from Liam. The protagonist also notices the Reaper, which makes him even more tense, because he has already managed to rejoice that he got away from the chase. Liam is shocked that the monsters in this game also have superpowers in addition to high physical strength. The Death Reaper teleports right in front of the machine, which catches the protagonist by surprise. Since the monster has blocked his way, completely blocking his view, Liam does not have time to notice the fence right in front of him and crashes into a pole. The Reaper clearly turned out to be not just a creepy monster with superpowers, he is also smart. Liam gets out of the car, angry that the monster can't keep up with him. He pulls out his secret weapon, which has worked without any problem so far, and shoots directly at the Reaper. However, this doesn't work on this monster. The bullet just flies through without doing any damage, so Liam has no choice but to run. He flies into the first building he comes across, wanting to hide there and prolong his life. But this does not help the main character, because it is not so easy to hide from the Reaper. A deafening scream reverberates from the monster before it plans to start moving towards the protagonist. As soon as the Reaper attacks, Liam remembers his new device, the flashlight, and finally understands why he was given it. Luckily for the protagonist, this worked on the monster, stopping his attack, which could have been Liam's last. Since the light weakened the monster, the main character's next shot hit the target, causing damage. Liam jumps out the window to increase the distance between them before the monster has time to recover. Right in front of him, he sees someone's parked bicycle and decides to sit behind it. It will be faster. But the wheel of the bike was deformed, so Liam did not have time to ride a meter when he fell off it and hit himself painfully. The monster is already catching up with the main character, but fortunately the flashlight was not damaged when it fell and was still a good weapon against evil spirits. Liam continues to retreat, dealing damage to the enemy at the same time until they suddenly stop. Liam also notices that the monster has stopped chasing him, which incredibly surprises the protagonist. He looks down because it seems to him that the answer to this simple question lies there. The main character notices that they are separated from the monster by only a thin line, beyond which it cannot go. No matter how hard the Death Reaper tried to bridge the distance between him and the protagonist, he could not resist the rules of the game. Liam realized that he is safe, and this is his chance to deal with the monster. He delivers the final shot. Another dangerous enemy is defeated. The audience in the virtual chat rejoices, as well as the main character. Exhausted, Liam falls to the ground, having mixed feelings from the last few minutes of the confrontation with the monster. He is both happy that he is still alive and puzzled by how many more dangerous enemies he has to meet. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, Liam suddenly notices something strange not far from him. His attention is attracted by a strange flashing light that appeared and disappeared. Liam assumed it was Morse code, so he hid behind a wall to wait for someone to approach. The protagonist even takes out a gun to catch an unknown person off guard and protect himself. As soon as the light approached, Liam prepared to come out from behind his hiding place. He flies out from behind the wall and holds out his weapon in front of him, ordering the unknown to stop. It turns out to be a schoolboy who wandered through an empty city alone, trying, like Liam, to survive this post-apocalypse. The schoolboy introduces himself as Austin and asks not to shoot him, as he did not plan to attack the main character. However, Liam senses a catch in what is happening because the schoolboy couldn't have gotten that far alone, so he orders him to give all his belongings. Austin decides not to resist and first of all gives the flashlight, which the main character happily catches. However, Austin is reluctant to give up everything else and asks Liam to leave him alone. After a while, he still takes his things out of the backpack. There were products necessary for the first time. Austin had already managed to get upset that he was so unlucky enough to meet someone who was stealing from him. Liam considers the schoolboy to be bait, so he asks him to undress to search his belongings. Austin looks at him with sad eyes. He is clearly dissatisfied with what is happening. The main character tries to find out how the schoolboy managed to get here without visible damage, but does not receive any clear answer. Then Liam decides not to waste any more time, turns around, and leaves. Austin unexpectedly admits that he started his adventure with his friends, who tragically died through his fault because he was too cowardly. The main character listens attentively to Austin's revelation. This story surprises him unspeakably. Liam decides to take the student with him, which makes the student incredibly happy because he does not need to be more than alone. The protagonist makes this decision because leaving Austin here means that he will die at the first encounter with the monster. A few hours later, Liam meets an unusual monster that devours other zombies. Suddenly, from the other side, Austin approached them, chased by the Titan. They begin to run away together. Liam does not understand where and when the schoolboy managed to pick up a monster with him, even more dangerous than the one that the main character himself saw. In a panic, Liam tries to think of plans to defeat the enemy, but he fails. At this time, Austin says that he knows the way and they need to run forward, because there are repairs to the water supply waiting for them, which will help them escape. And it really turns out to be so. The schoolboy perfectly remembered the road, and now they are running along a thin gap of asphalt left after digging the pit. Liam manages to step onto the thin road at the last moment. He feels the monster's teeth chattering behind him. The main character almost loses his balance, but manages to regain his balance, thereby saving himself. The Titan falls into the pits at full speed, which allows the guys to escape from it. However, a new enemy was already waiting for them in front of them in the person of the Hellfrog, which stuck out its tongue, thereby betraying itself. Liam also notices a new monster lying in wait for them, and he orders Austin to duck. The main character successfully guesses the moment of the blow, thereby saving himself and his partner. The frog's blow hits so hard that it pierced through the skull of the Titan, who was also hunting for Liam and Austin. The guys are happy with their luck because they have more time to escape. They left behind a great confrontation between two monsters, a Hellfrog and a Titan. Austin recalls that there is a parking lot nearby where you can find new transport to get away from here as soon as possible. However, after a while, Liam is clearly dissatisfied with what is happening. And indeed, the only means at this time in the parking lot was a paired bike, which clearly did not suit Liam. The heroes go to their new temporary shelter to replenish supplies in it. Suddenly, Austin asks Liam if he knows anything about Division 75, where his best friend went. The main character is surprised that the schoolboy has also heard about this division, so it really exists, but for some reason only a handful of chosen ones bothered to be taken by them. Liam did not hide the fact that his parents also went there, leaving only a note. By the time the conversation ended, they had already arrived at their supposed hideout. Suddenly, a jeep suddenly appears out of nowhere, which crashes into a fence not far from the guys. The car is very similar to a military one, and for some reason it looks quite shabby. Liam gets off his bike to take a closer look at what just happened. Approaching the car, he notices that the driver is unconscious inside, but still breathing. The main character pulls this man out of the Jeep without really worrying about his safety. Liam inspects the car for something useful, and at this time, an unknown man in uniform comes to his senses. When the protagonist asks what happened, the soldier abruptly draws a knife, either in an attempt to harm or in an attempt to defend himself. But before he can use a cold weapon, Liam kicks the knife out of his hand. The soldier immediately loses all his agility and confidence and asks the protagonist to let him live. Liam picks up a knife. He wants to know who the soldier is and how he ended up in this place. He points a knife at a soldier and asks him all these questions. But in the end, the main character comes to the conclusion that in fact this soldier is a deserter. But the military assures Liam that this is not the case. He is the only survivor. His entire group died during the mission. The main character grabs a soldier whose name turns out to be Arthur. He pulls out a dog tag around his neck, which is usually worn by all military personnel and contains information about the soldier. Liam is interested in his personal number, which he asks the soldier, as he should have learned it by now. Such a question takes Arthur by surprise. He is clearly concerned about Liam's harsh behavior. The main character demands an answer in a harsher voice, losing his patience. Arthur pulls himself together and still calls his personal number. Fortunately, he remembered it. Liam is satisfied with the answer, and he decides to let the soldier go, only asking about Division 75 in the end, to which the soldier says that this is the first time he has heard about it. The protagonist decides that the military is useless and tells Austin that it's time for them to leave. Liam plans to use a jeep to climb over the fence, as the gate to the grounds is closed and the electricity is likely cut off. But then the soldier asks not to leave him alone, as he will not be able to hold out alone for long, and in addition, he is also wounded. However, Liam doesn't care about Arthur. He prefers to think about saving his life first, rather than doing charity. In turn, Austin asks to take the military with him, to which the main character replies that the schoolboy will keep an eye on the soldier himself. But Liam does not mind in principle. The three of them enter the territory of some company and are surprised that the number of cars in the parking lot does not correspond to the size of the parking lot. Liam is alarmed that the gate was closed despite the fact that there were almost no cars in the parking lot. They enter the company building to look around, Austin carrying a soldier. Complete silence reigns in the room, and this does not escape the attention of all those present. A small group goes up to the infirmary to help the injured soldier, after which Liam decides to inspect the room, asking everyone to stay in the infirmary. Liam climbs the stairs while contemplating whether he should leave Austin in the building or if it's safer to take him with him. Viewers in the chat are clearly surprised by such an attitude towards the schoolboy because they have just met, and the main character already wants to leave him. As arguments, Liam cites the fact that there are all the necessary food supplies, and it is safer than traveling with him. Unexpectedly for Liam, muffled voices come from afar, breaking the usual silence of the room and forcing him to strain his ears. He walks in the direction of the noise and comes to the door, behind which voices are heard. The main character finds himself in a radio room from where voices are heard from all parts of the city, in which he learns that Cheju is safe and the 75th Division asks everyone to gather there. Liam is hooked by these words and he brings up a window of information with a hint. In addition to the old sentences, information appears on it that you can get out of the city by train from the station. The main character understands the plan for further action and runs towards the first aid post to tell the others. However, in the infirmary, he finds only Arthur sitting on the couch. The military man says that Austin heard a strange sound in the basement and decided to check what was there, going alone. Liam did not like what he heard. Somewhere in this building, there may be dangerous people or monsters walking around. He searches the offices for the keys to the car so that he can get out of here as soon as possible before it's too late. A sharp sound comes from the corridor. It makes the main character wary. Liam runs out of the office, his heart pounding, and his thoughts cut through the air, trying to understand what is happening. However, he only discovers a soldier lying on the floor and unable to get up. The main character helps him up, and he in turn reports that the sound from the basement has been repeated. Indeed, the incomprehensible noise repeats itself, confirming Liam's fears of a possible attack. Someone begins to rise from the basement, and Liam and the soldiers tense up to prepare for a possible threat. This is Austin, who is now in a predicament because he was grabbed by a man in his 40s, who already looked more like a mentally ill person. Liam asks the man not to do anything stupid and to let Austin go because they were about to leave. The man replies that he cannot let go of the thief who has sneaked into his company. And he also calls the main character, along with the soldier, thieves, promising to deal with them later. Liam immediately realized where the keys that he was looking for in the offices had gone, because the owner of the company clearly did not look like a gullible person. Then the main character comes up with another plan, as evidenced by his smile. In a second, Liam's face changes. He has the smile of the best employee of the month, and his eyes are filled with determination. Liam claims that their small group are not thieves at all. They just want to get a job at this firm and came for an interview. The man was clearly interested in the words of the main character, and he believed him because the company is just not enough personnel now. But the owner of the company was an experienced person. He reminded Liam that he must have an application for the interview with him. Liam had clearly forgotten about this small detail, and now he was trying to quickly get out of this unpleasant situation. Then he remembers that in one of the offices he had already seen some kind of statement and asked the soldier to bring it. A few minutes later, Arthur returns with the papers and gives them to the owner of the company. While the man read the statement and carefully studied the candidacy of the fictional Liam, Austin slowly began to step aside. Liam waved his hand, letting the student know not to hesitate and quickly approach them. Austin concentrates on delivering a powerful push to the man that knocks him off his feet. At this time, Liam flies up and hits the owner of the company right in the stomach with a crutch. He grabs the man, puts his hands behind his back to reduce resistance, and asks the guys to examine him for the key. Fortunately, the owner of the company kept the keys with him, so it was not difficult to find them. They run out of the building and go to meet the car in order to leave as soon as possible, before the owner of this company gets to them. Liam tells the soldier to get to the train station as soon as possible, because this is the only way to get out of town. People begin to appear from the gates, running from something, and this does not go unnoticed. But they are immediately grabbed by the monster as soon as they cross the territory of the company. A new terrifying monster appears in front of the children's eyes, moving on 4 huge legs and looking like a crawler from fairy tales. The boys are horrified, and Liam asks the soldier to get out of here as soon as possible before the monster notices them. But it was too late. The strange creature fixed her gaze on them. The soldier turned the car around and headed towards the exit, trying to leave this place faster. Liam and Austin realize that the monster will catch up with them and they need to increase their speed. They drive out of the parking lot onto a straight road to break away from the monster. Only after a few calm minutes can Liam exhale. It seems that they have broken away. The protagonist in front of the car notices a blue line on the asphalt, the same as in Hessem School, where he completed his studies. After crossing this lane, a window pops up that notifies Liam that he has crossed the fork point. Now chat viewers can set a mission to the player and give him bonuses for it. Such news took the main character by surprise. He did not expect this. Liam checks his game menu and doesn't find any changes, So he decides to ask the audience in a virtual chat. They, in turn, calm down the main character and claim that they will take care of their favorite player. It was definitely not a mistake to look out of the window, as the protagonist notices a monster chasing them, which was in the firm before. He notifies his companions that they are being pursued, rapidly reducing the distance. Liam asks the soldier to turn up the gas, to which the soldier replies that this car can't accelerate any faster. Then the protagonist turns towards Austin and asks him to remember something about this track, realizing that he is the only one who knows this road. The schoolboy thinks intensely, remembering the map that he saw before. And at this moment, it occurs to him about the next road, which can be their salvation. Austin tells the driver to turn up a hill, which in turn slows down their speed, but should save their lives in the near future. The distance between the monster and the machine is rapidly closing, creating a tense situation. Liam notes that the car has successfully reached the descent, and now they are gaining distance. But another obstacle awaited them ahead in the form of a road collapse, which at such a speed could threaten a high probability of death. Austin says that they can't stop, as this is their only chance to survive, because this monster doesn't know how to brake. Liam had the last hope in the face of the audience, who could help him by giving him some kind of mission. And then, unexpectedly, the main character really has a mission from a user under the nickname Tormented, who asked to provoke a monster in exchange for temporary protection from skidding a car. Liam wastes no time in leaning out of the car and begins to insult the monster, calling it slow. The crawler clearly did not like this attitude towards himself. He was even angrier. Austin asks the protagonist to stop and not to worsen their already too difficult situation, but Liam stubbornly continues to provoke the monster, hoping in her heart that these words will be enough to complete the mission. Finally, there is a window about the successful completion of the task, which makes the main character incredibly happy. The mission was completed very timely, because immediately after that, they had already reached the turn from the cliff. Crawlers really can't brake, and the monster flies down rapidly. Arthur can't believe that they all survived such a dangerous skid. Liam temporarily thanks a user under the nickname Torment, who gave him this mission and saved their lives. The main character assesses the situation in the area in which they are now. The track is completely empty. Only their car is the only one moving along it. Driving up to the back alley, the guys unexpectedly encounter zombies that disturb the peace of the surrounding silence. The main character asks not to disturb his partners. He says that he will deal with the zombies himself. Liam is determined to activate his taunt skill, which will increase his physical strength for the next 10 minutes. He attacks the zombies without hesitation, deciding not to stop until he has destroyed the threat. With each blow, all the feelings of the main character are sharpened, and the strength becomes higher. Liam concentrates on delivering the final blow to the zombies, concluding his fight in a bright finale. In the chat, viewers admire how quickly the main character has grown, how much his behavior has changed after these few days of survival. Liam notices screams not far from him. An unknown man asks for help and curses a certain Huang. The only person named Huang that the main character knows is the mayor of the city, so Liam is interested in what is happening. After a small vote in the virtual chat, he finally decides to help this person in order to find out more details from him in the future. In turn, the zombie had almost devoured this man, but he continued to resist with the last of his strength. But at the last moment, Liam strikes one well-aimed blow, thereby saving the mayor's supposedly subordinate one. A smile appears on the bloody face of the main character. He feels that saving this person will still help him in the near future. The rescued man and the protagonist head towards the train station, while Liam asks them to tell him what happened to Mayor Huang. As it turns out, he abandoned his subordinate, whom he promised to save. The main character also learns that when the monsters attacked, the mayor of the city was one of the first to evacuate. His subordinate tells Liam that the mayor had a large number of guards, among whom there were many unfamiliar faces. This information interested the main character, and he decides that for someone, the life of the mayor of the city is valuable. Liam decides to meet the man and thanks him for the valuable information. The man is surprised by the gambling mood of the main character, and he does not know what to answer to his words. Suddenly, the employee notices a girl not far from the train station to which they were heading. The main character turns his head to take a closer look at the unexpected guest. The man wanted to call out to her because a little girl shouldn't walk alone at such a dangerous time, but Liam stops him. Taking a closer look, The main character notices that the girl looks unusual. Her dress is all bloody. Liam decides to ask the virtual chat room what they know about who this creature is, and asks them to give him some kind of mission. But the audience upsets him, saying that for them, every game yen is like for the main character 10,001 in Hungry Heroes, and they cannot help him. Liam asks the man not to make noise. Only in this way he can increase his chances of survival. Suddenly, the monster lurking in the shadows of the station heard some vague noise. She headed for the sounds coming from inside the building, rapidly increasing her speed. Such a speed of the monster terrifies both the main character and the man he saved. The worker decides that he will not go towards the station and starts running down before it is too late. But unfortunately, he stumbles on the last step and falls on the asphalt, hitting himself painfully. The monster heard his footsteps and quickly changed its direction in the direction where the man was lying. Without thinking for a long time, the girl tears apart the unfortunate man who has not yet had time to get up. The main character watches everything that happens, unable to move. Meanwhile, in the chat, he is told that this monster is called the Silent Shadow, and it reacts only to sounds. Incomprehensible screams are heard from the station again, and the girl is about to go to the noise. But fortunately for the main character, the viewer under the nickname New Master gives him a new mission. Its essence is to freeze when the Silent Shadow passes by the main character. Such a task alerts Liam. But he no longer has a choice, as the monster has come too close to the main character. Every muscle in Liam's body tenses to the limit. He tries to hold his breath. The main character manages to hold out until the Silent Shadow goes far enough away from him. A window appears that notifies him of the successful completion of the mission, which makes Liam happy. He approaches the remains of a man whose body has been mutilated so that it is now impossible to make out the person's personality. Liam leans over his body, trying to get his wallet out of his pants pockets. After a few minutes of searching, he finds the man's pass, which proves that he really worked at the mayor's office. Liam is about to head to the train station when he hears behind him that the corpse is beginning to move. It is not clear how, but not long ago the dead man got up, turning into a zombie. Thanks to his reaction, the main character manages to get a knife before the attack of the Walking Dead begins. He sticks a melee weapon directly into the zombie's throat, leaving him no chance to resurrect. Liam slowly approaches the station building, his heart beating with unusual intensity, his concern for the fate of his partners growing with every step. Suddenly he notices that two silent shadows appear in front of him, chasing his friends. The main character spends a few seconds thinking about what he should do, leave his partners to tear apart monsters or help them. Still, Liam decides that Austin and Arthur will be able to stand up for themselves, and turning around, begins to move away from this dangerous place. But even then, the viewer under the nickname New Owner decides to change the course of events, giving the main character a new task to save the guys. Liam decides not to ignore the task, because the reward for it is 20 yen, which the main character really needs. He bursts into the toilet holding an incomprehensible object in his hand and attracts the attention of the monsters. Austin and Arthur, hoping to escape, climbed onto the toilet doors where the silent shadows could not reach them. The guys notice the main character who came to their aid, which makes them incredibly happy. Liam, full of confidence in his plan, activates the timer he has been holding in his hand all along. The monsters react to the squeaking sound that the timer makes and switch from the guys to the main character. Liam runs out of the toilet to take these monsters away from his friends. Monsters, sinking their terrible fangs into the surrounding darkness, chase the noise emitted by the timer. As soon as Liam gets outside, he decides that now is the time to drop the stopwatch before the shadows catch up with him. The protagonist's plan works, and he manages to distract the monsters that have begun to chase the squeaking timer. Austin, realizing that the situation has become safe, begins to slowly descend from his hiding place. Exhausted, Arthur also comes outside and thanks Liam for saving their lives. He also says in a disappointed voice that his crutch broke while trying to escape. Upon hearing this news, Liam asks Austin to help his friend get to the train station. The three of them headed to the terminal to find out when the next train was leaving for Jeju. Suddenly, the protagonist hears that Arthur is making strange noises that are not typical for a human. He turns sharply towards the soldier, afraid to see the worst that could happen. Liam tugs at Arthur's uniform, trying to see his face, and discovers that the military's eyes no longer resemble those of a human. Only zombie aggression can be read in them. Austin points out the soldier's wound and says that one of the monsters chasing them injured him. Liam realizes that Arthur can no longer be saved, and he will face the same fate as the man before. The main character, in a hurry, takes Austin away from the infected until he finally transforms. Arthur is left alone in the dark emptiness, also realizing that he can no longer be saved. Liam is upset that a man he's already used to ending his life this way. The main character is trying to come up with a plan on how to get out. Unexpectedly, strange sounds are heard from behind. This is Arthur in the last minutes of his human life trying to help his friends by showing them important information. Liam turns his head to where the soldier pointed and discovers that the train leaving for Jeju will arrive soon. Arthur has fulfilled his last duty. He is going to leave so as not to harm his comrades. The main character thanks the soldier and promises that he will never forget what he did for them. Liam and Austin descend towards the platform, intending to wait for the train to arrive soon. The protagonist instructs the schoolboy, telling him to be careful because the train will most likely arrive full of zombies. Liam's pessimistic attitude makes Austin listen to his words. Over the loudspeaker, it is announced that the train to Jeju will arrive soon. The protagonist finds a box where they can hide until they are sure that the station is safe. The high-speed train arrives at the station, not planning to slow down. A crawler appears on his way, who has definitely come to the noise and wants to eat fresh meat. The high-speed train left, taking all the monsters with it and leaving the platform empty again. Liam tries to understand why the transport didn't stop as promised over the loudspeaker. Suddenly, another locomotive appears, silently rolling onto the platform. The protagonist wants to quietly check what kind of train it is, and so asks Austin to stay in the box. Liam tries to silently sneak closer to the driver's cab to better understand the situation. A man dressed in a transport service uniform comes out of the shadows. His steps sound muffled, and his face is drowned in the semi-darkness. The driver turns out to be a young girl who is dissatisfied with the fact that there is still no one on the platform. The main character did not expect to see a woman in the face of the driver, so now he did not know how to behave. And then he remembers that he had already seen her on the internet, where one of the articles said that this girl caught a pickpocket who robbed people at train stations. Meanwhile, the woman begins to smoke nervously, clearly losing patience with the fact that Mayor Huang has not yet appeared. Liam tries to think of a plan for him and Austin to get on the train without being noticed. He decides that he should first try to negotiate with the girl. Austin, in turn, tries to hint to the main character with gestures that it will be faster to deal with her by brute force. Realizing that this is a bad decision, Liam refuses to follow the schoolboy's plan. Meanwhile, their altercation is noticed by a typist. Austin decides not to waste time and begins his attack, having managed to get a metal pipe somewhere, but the main character stops him. Meanwhile, the girl, only a little surprised, is going to punish the schoolboy for his impudence. But the main character asks her to stop and hands her a pass, which he took from an employee of the mayor's office. The girl reads it carefully, noting that Liam doesn't look like he works in an office. The protagonist, trying to save himself and Austin, begins to come up with a story that should help them get on the train. He tells the typist that the mayor of the city, unfortunately, died before he could get to the station. Such news surprises the girl, because the people from Division 75 promised her a place in the bunker if she delivers the mayor to them. Suddenly, everyone hears the loud roar of the monsters that were returning to the station. But the typist, taking a deep breath, understands that she cannot just leave her task uncompleted. Liam replies that she can take them with her, as the protagonist has information that will come in handy in Division 75. The girl is unhappy with the situation, but after a little thought, the typist agrees to take Liam with her. She introduces herself as Vanessa, already realizing that she will not fulfill the agreement with Division 75. Liam also mentions that they need to take the guy with the pipe with them. Austin agrees, but in exchange for this, Austin must give his weapon to her so that he does not harm himself. A few minutes later, the guys are taking a train towards Jeju when they suddenly hear someone coming down the stairs. A man in military uniform ran onto the platform when he heard the sounds of a locomotive leaving. Arthur had already turned into a zombie. His mind was consumed by darkness, and his soul was gripped by only one feeling of hunger. Behind the soldier, several more people were descending, including Mayor Huang. He and several of his guards shouted after the departing train, asking to stop it so they could climb in. Vanessa also noticed the approaching people. She came out to better understand the situation. The girl realizes that the main character has deceived her, and now the mayor is in danger. Meanwhile, the guards were already being devoured by the silent shadows, who also ran to the sounds of the departing train. The typist is about to slow down, to which Liam tells her that it's dangerous and shouldn't do it. He asks the girl to return to the cockpit to gain speed and break away from the monsters. Vanessa is unhappy that she was so easily deceived, so she slams the door when she leaves. The mayor is still running after the train. Hoping to save himself, he calls a code word that can no longer help him. Moreover, he is already being caught up by a zombie whose ruthless desire for sacrifice knows no barriers. The main character asks the viewers of the virtual chat if he did the right thing in this situation, to which he is told that saving the mayor of the city was not worth his suffering. A few minutes later, everyone gathered in the driver's cab. The girl asks Liam to explain what happened. The protagonist continues to stand his ground, saying that the mayor is dead, only this time it turns out to be true. Such an answer angers Vanessa even more. She grabs Liam by the collar of his jacket. The girl demands to tell her everything, how it was and who the main character really is. Liam tries to get out of this unpleasant situation by saying that he is just a passenger on the train. The driver is even angrier. She promises to throw everyone off the train. The protagonist asks her to calm down, saying that he did not kill anyone and was only trying to save his life and the life of his comrade. The girl pushes Liam with all her strength, calling her and Austin stowaways. The main character has the last hope. He mentions an interview in which the girl spoke about kindness to other people. Vanessa's face immediately changes, clearly embarrassed by the fact that Liam was reading her interview. The main character himself did not expect such a change in behavior from his words, and now he was in complete shock from what was happening. Meanwhile, the girl was still happy that Liam was reading her interview. Having calmed down a little, Vanessa wonders how the main character could have known about the article. The girl recalls that the magazine that posted the interview with her was not so popular, so she cannot say for sure whether Liam is a good person or a slacker. But still, she allows the guys to stay on the train, since nothing can be fixed anyway. Liam asks Vanessa about the purpose of their arrival. He wants to know if they are really heading to Jeju. The typist says that she talked to Division 75, but never met them. Liam finds this strange, wondering why Division 75 would need the mayor of the city. The girl relays the words she was told in the emergency call that the executive branch had collapsed, and they needed a new person who could take over the management of the country. The main character thanks the girl for her help and promises that he will not remain in her debt. Suddenly, Austin turned pale. He was looking intently somewhere in the direction of the exit from the driver's cab. Liam notices this and also looks out the window to look at what has interested Austin so much. It turns out to be the silent shadow who incomprehensibly made his way onto the train and stood outside. Its presence inspires horror and anxiety. Vanessa wanted to ask some question, but Liam stopped her, afraid that the monster would hear them. The main character receives a new mission from a user under the nickname New Master, in which he needs to defeat the silent shadow in 5 minutes. Liam is unhappy that this viewer has given him such a difficult assignment again, mentioning that if he makes a mistake, he could die. Fortunately for the protagonist, he receives a new mission from a user under the nickname Tormented, in which Liam must defeat the monster in 1 hour. Then the main character decides not to hesitate any longer, because he has a chance to complete 2 tasks at once. Liam goes out to meet the monster, who has not yet had time to notice him. He recalls that he recently won a bonus in the form of the ability to take Silent Shadow's hearing. When Liam activates the skill, he touches the monster by the shoulder, thereby casting the ability. The Silent Shadow immediately reacts to the presence of the main character and turns, but now it has neither hearing nor sight. The monster looks even more terrifying up close, showing all its power and danger. However, luckily for the protagonist, the Silent Shadow misdirects and falls overboard the train. Liam wants to check that the monster will definitely not chase them again. However, the monster does not plan to leave its prey easily, so continue to hold on to the stairs of the train. This is very upsetting for the protagonist because he decided that he had already dealt with the monster. Liam then decides to eliminate the Silent Shadow with brute force, attacking her with everything he can. Finally, the monster unhooks its steel grip and falls into the tracks. The main character sees off the defeated enemy with his eyes, rejoicing that he is still alive. The unexpected pain makes Liam's face cringe. He didn't expect the fight to be so hard. The protagonist, exhausted by agony, is no longer able to contain his suffering. He falls to his knees and his screams pierce the night air, reflecting his hellish torment. Fortunately, Liam managed to complete both missions, which means that he dealt with the monster in less than 5 minutes. Austin is worried about such recklessness of the main character. He asks him to be more prudent next time. Vanessa also notes Liam's courage, saying that she did not expect him to be so determined. The main character's arm continues to hurt. During the fight, he managed to damage it somewhere. The unexpected news makes Liam distracted. The girl reveals that while he was away, they were talking on the radio with Division 75. In a conversation with the Division, she mentioned that the mayor was dead and that she wanted a new assignment. Liam asked the girl to tell her about how Division 75 reacted to the information received. Vanessa replies that at the next station, they will have to leave the train with the mechanic and follow further instructions. The protagonist does not seem happy with this scenario because he cannot trust the people from Division 75. Liam tries to figure out if the next stop is a trap or not. Meanwhile, the train continues to move, leaving the main character less and less time to think. Liam reads the information window, which says that getting off at the next station could be a dangerous decision. Vanessa notes that the main character has been silent for a long time and decides to ask what happened to him. Liam does not hide his suspicions about the next stop from her and offers to pass her. The girl is struck by the words of the main character. She did not even imagine such a turn of events, and her eyes reflect a mixture of amazement, anxiety, and incomprehension. Liam explains his decision by saying that he believes the men from Division 75 agreed too easily to the change of plan, especially since their main goal, saving the mayor, is no longer achievable. Vanessa shares the opinion of the main character. She also found the conversation with the Division strange. Liam also mentions that it is likely that the stations will not be safe right now due to the fact that hordes of zombies roam the streets. The girl replies that the likelihood that they will have to fight to the death if they stop is very high. Then the main character asks about other stops in addition to the next station. To this question, Vanessa answers him that there will be a fork in the road, one of the sides of which leads to unfinished tracks. Liam realizes that if they don't stop before the fork in the road, their movement will likely be intentionally altered. This seems dangerous for Vanessa, but they have no other choice. They will still have to stop. The train was getting closer and closer to the next station, its whistles piercing the silence of the night, as if heralding the onset of new events and unknown trials. Liam decides to activate his skill, which amplifies his voice several times over. Armed men stand at the bus stop waiting for the train to arrive. Their intentions do not look friendly. After activating the skill, the main character tries to find the moment to say something to the military. Half-naked, Liam shouts to the soldiers that their train is broken and they can't stop. The locomotive rushes past the military, leaving them in bewilderment, their figures standing motionless, as if they have witnessed the unbelievable. Liam returns to the driver's cab, where he replies to surprised looks that he undressed to achieve a greater effect of general panic. Vanessa remarks that the station was dangerous, as the military did not clear it of zombies. The train passes through a tunnel, after which they must make a stop. The protagonist and the girl leave to inspect the area, leaving Austin to keep an eye on the train. Vanessa is not sure that the schoolboy will be able to cope with the controls, but Liam reassures her, saying that Austin has a phenomenal memory. Meanwhile, they are approaching a military stronghold, which is located a few meters from them. Vanessa notes that the soldiers should not have noticed the train, as they stopped it well in advance. However, a group of military men combed the forest for those on the train, their footsteps resonating in the dense foliage and their eyes directed deep into the forest. There were 4 people in total. They talked about the fact that in case of resistance, they should shoot without delay. Vanessa heard their conversation completely, which made her very angry. The main character understands that the girl is determined and decides to follow her plan. He is the first to attack the nearest soldier, coming in from behind. Vanessa also attacks the next soldier, showing her determination and martial arts skills. Liam blocks the soldier's ability to shoot, taking the weapon from him. At this time, the girl delivers a fierce blow with the butt of a machine gun to the military. Then she kicks, sending him flying a few meters. The soldier falls into a cliff where he has no chance of survival. The rest of the soldiers are in shock from what happened. Everything happened so quickly that they did not even have time to take out their weapons. Vanessa continues her attack, striking one of the soldiers with her rifle butt. She sends the next one flying with her signature kick. Liam asks Vanessa at the last moment to keep at least one soldier as a prisoner. but the girl is unstoppable. The look of the typist frightens the main character, and he decides not to get into a skirmish with her to save his life. Liam walks over to the edge of the cliff to make sure the military doesn't stick to the edges. What he sees, however, terrifies him, is a horde of zombies trying to climb up by climbing over rocks. Liam says they need to hurry up and clear the checkpoint. A few minutes later, they reach the building and had already managed to take cover. Vanessa notes the fact that due to the shooting, zombies can start crawling upstairs faster, so they need to hurry. An unexpected bullet flies near the head of the main character. Their hiding place has been declassified. Liam realizes that he can't wait any longer. Fortunately, he served in the army, where he was taught how to use weapons. The main character successfully hits one of the soldiers on the head, killing him. Vanessa also starts shooting, but there are too many soldiers, their chances are not equal. A sharp pain is heard in the shoulder of the main character. This is his first wound, but fortunately the bullet only hits Liam. He decides to ask for help from the spectators of the game so that they can look at the situation in the stronghold. At his request, Liam receives the answer that users are not omnipotent either, so the main character has no choice but to continue shooting back. A sharp scream from the right causes Liam to look back at the sound to find out the situation with Vanessa. The girl had also been wounded in the shoulder, so now they were both injured. Fortunately, not badly. Liam realizes that they won't last long at this rate, and he needs to come up with a new plan. Meanwhile, the soldiers are approaching them, surrounding them from all sides. The protagonist also notices this. He tells Vanessa that it's time for them to retreat. The girl continues to shoot back, but she has few bullets left, so she agrees with Liam. The main character, gripping the handle of his weapon with tension, covers his partner. Retreating, Liam asks the viewers from the virtual chat to help him escape. However, users are not very eager to help the main character, as they have already spent too much money on him. Liam realizes that he won't get help, but he doesn't plan to give up so easily. The protagonist runs up to the cliff and starts screaming loudly, summoning zombies and activating his taunt ability. Another of Liam's recklessness makes Vanessa doubt the reasonableness of her partner, but she has no choice but to simply trust. The main character begins to run in the opposite direction, towards the soldiers, leading a horde of zombies. Developing incredible speed thanks to his ability, Liam skips through the military. He continues to move towards the checkpoint, accelerating with every step. The gates of the building are already beginning to be seen, their contours slowly emerging from the darkness. Liam crushes a concrete wall with his strength, thus opening the way for zombies. The military came out to find out what was happening outside, their silhouettes appearing in the dim light like shadows emerging from the darkness. But all they managed to notice was a horde of zombies who wanted to tear them to pieces. Meanwhile, Vanessa continues to fight off the remaining zombies with the last of her strength. She doesn't notice that one monster has already crept up too close to her. But luckily for her, Liam manages to return to the cliff, saving the girl from the bite of the walking dead. Using his increased physical strength, the main character deals with monsters. In order not to prolong the fight, Liam grabs the driver and heads towards the train. Such familiar behavior shocks the girl. She did not expect that the main character is capable of this. Liam has a request for a girl that he wants her to fulfill to save them. The main character heads towards the switch to change the direction of the train to the desired one. Liam says that she will take the approaching zombies on herself, and Vanessa should just change the rails. The typist tries with all her strength to push the switchman, her whole body trembling with exertion. Meanwhile, Liam fights off the zombies, further increasing his strength. He asks the girl how much longer it will take her to change direction. Vanessa replies that they can move on towards the train since she has already finished. The main character again unceremoniously grabs the typist and is about to start running. How unexpectedly he notices that the train is already approaching them, gaining more and more speed. Liam realizes that the engine has no plans to slow down, and he will have to get out of it again to get on the train. This behavior makes the protagonist begin to worry about the fate of Austin. The front window of the driver's cab is bloody, and a schoolboy lies in a pool of blood. Liam has no choice but to try to climb onto the moving train on his own. Meanwhile, the crowd of zombies does not plan to lag behind him, breathing directly at his back. However, it turns out that the protagonist's speed is not enough to catch up with the train. Liam's muscles are tense to the limit. He reaches 100% of his physical strength, which delights viewers from the virtual chat. The main character picks up the maximum speed, which fortunately is enough to catch up with the train. He throws Vanessa towards the train, yelling at her to hold on tight to the locomotive. The girl hits the metal structure of the train so hard that the air is knocked out of her lungs. Meanwhile, Liam continues to run, looking for the right moment to climb onto the locomotive himself. At the last moment, the main character manages to pick up a girl falling from the train. Such an unexpected appearance of Liam takes Vanessa by surprise. In her heart, she is grateful to him for saving her. The main character and the girl head to the driver's cab. As they approach the door, they notice something strange that makes them begin to worry about Austin's fate. The door to the driver's cab is completely bloody from the inside. Entering the cockpit, the guys notice an unconscious Austin and the corpse of the silent shadow. Liam asks Vanessa to be careful because the cockpit may still not be safe. The main character is trying to understand whether they managed to bite Austin and whether we should expect danger from him. He bends down to check it out. Meanwhile, the virtual chat asks him to be careful. Liam tries to get Austin to come to his senses. Vanessa is also worried about the fate of the schoolboy. Suddenly, Austin's body begins to move. He begins to breathe and mumble something to himself. A sudden change in the guy's behavior makes Liam tense up. He tries to understand who is awake now, a person or a zombie. Austin begins to rise, and the main character asks Fate that everything will be fine with his friend. But just in case, the main character is still preparing to deliver a decisive blow if suddenly Austin managed to transform. However, fortunately, the schoolboy was not bitten, so he was simply unconscious. Liam realizes that Austin is still himself and drops his weapon as he no longer needs it. The main character hugs the schoolboy with all his might, rejoicing that everything is fine with him. Meanwhile, viewers from the chat do not share the positivity of the main character, instilling suspicions in him about Austin's personality. Liam double-checks that the student did not have time to bite, as he decides that extra caution will not be superfluous. The main character was very worried about his friend, and now he is glad that he did not have time to be bitten. Since Austin had been unconscious for a long time, he did not have time to notice when the two managed to return to the train. Suddenly, Vanessa grabs the protagonist in order to find out how he managed to develop such strength in a short period of time. To which Liam simply laughs off the fact that under the threat of death, his hidden abilities have been activated. A sharp sound of the radio is heard, asking to report on the situation and who is now driving the train. Liam, without a moment's hesitation, answers the signal. He is going to get out of this situation. The protagonist begins to bluff, revealing that they have fixed the train and are now heading to the stop in Jeju. Vanessa realizes that Liam is blatantly lying when he says that the driver died. She wants to intervene in the conversation, but the main character stops her by clamping her mouth. Liam pretends that the connection has deteriorated in order to quickly interrupt the conversation. Vanessa says that she can't get used to the impudent acting of the main character. Liam asks her if there is a place to safely disembark somewhere before the stop in Jeju, to which she mentions the botanical garden. A few minutes later, the guys came to the botanical garden, which was located near the main street of the city. Just in case, the main character took out a knife because he did not know what monsters could be found in the forest. The children note that this garden is very quiet, which is strange for nature. The main character asks everyone to be more careful, paying attention to the strange sound. He also asks the viewers from the virtual chat if they have heard any incomprehensible rustle, to which he receives a negative answer. The main character learns from Vanessa that the botanical garden can be passed in 20 minutes, if you do not get lost in the dark. In the meantime, Austin managed to memorize the map of the forest. He said that he could go first to show the way. The main character does not cease to rejoice at the phenomenal memory of the schoolboy, saying that he did not doubt it. The strange rustle repeats again. Liam notices it again, warning Austin. At the last moment, the guy manages to put the pipe in front of him, protecting himself from the blow. The protagonist pulls Austin's backpack towards himself, thereby removing him from the attack trajectory of the unknown creature. The monster turned out to be a walking tree, which looked very impressive. Liam did not expect that they could meet such dangerous plants in the forest. In the virtual chat, he is told that this creature is called a trelly. Vanessa decided not to wait for the monster to attack again. She attacks it first. But the main character understands that Tralty cannot be defeated so easily and tells everyone to retreat. He asks Austin to lead the group and show them the way to the exit of the botanical garden. The guy suggests that they get out of the forest through the path that he previously noticed on the map. However, even on this way, the road is blocked by a trelly, forcing them to stop. Trees surround the children from all sides. Their branches seem to stretch out like the hands of darkness, entangled in the whirlwind and of the night wind. Trouty's surprise attack separates the group, with Vanessa and Liam remaining on the left and Austin on the right. The protagonist falls to the ground, hitting it painfully, his moan penetrating through the silence of the night. Trouty continues to chase Austin, who tries to crawl away from him. Liam asks the student to run forward, saying that they will catch up to him as soon as they get out. Austin has no choice but to run, because the monsters continue to chase him. However, Trouty has already managed to get too close to the guy. The monster strikes with a branch. Austin does not have time to react, but fortunately the blow missed, touching only his hand. He runs to the exit of the botanical garden, asking his friends to survive no matter what. Vanessa and Liam are left alone with the monsters around them. The protagonist notices that when attacking Trouty's, for some reason his taunt skill is not activated. He realizes that the reason trees have neither hearing nor eyes is why his ability does not manifest itself. Liam then decides to punch the Trouty, as this is the third way to activate his skill. Vanessa is not going to give up either. She attacks the Trouty with all her strength. The protagonist realizes that the trees will not react to them if they are not touched, so he grabs the girl and plans to run away from them. Meanwhile, Austin has already reached the exit of the botanical garden. He is approaching the entrance gate. He notices that the trees have stopped following him, stopping at the place where the asphalt begins. Austin sees a convenience store in front of him, which does not look broke. He tries to open the door. Fortunately, the store is not closed. Austin picks up the necessary food, but before leaving, he decides to take a lighter with him. With its help, the schoolboy creates a torch. He does not plan to leave his friends in trouble. Austin walks towards the Trouty to try out his new weapon on them. Trees are ignited by contact with fire. This alignment pleases Austin. The fire is transferred to other monsters, as they are too close to each other. However, the tree is too huge for the flames to be harmed so quickly. From a large amount of fire, the trellis begin to explode, which brings even more danger to the guy's life. But this mountain of flame is not enough to get out of the monsters' encirclement. Austin has no choice but to run back to the store, where the Trouty will not get him. He falls to the ground, expecting the monsters to finish him off, but unexpectedly, a stream of water saves the schoolboy. On Trelly, the water has a completely unforeseen effect. It stops them. An unknown elderly man saves Austin by pouring cold water on the monsters. He grabs the guy and tells him to run before the Trouty catch up to them. The man convinces Austin that he wants to save him and that he can take him to his hideout. The guy has no choice but to follow his grandfather, because monsters continued to chase them from behind. The man leads Austin to his hideout, which is hidden underground. The guy goes down. He doesn't look very good, as he recently had to go through a tough battle. The man shows Austin his shelter. It looks contented, spacious, and equipped with everything you need. The grandfather tells the schoolboy that he built this place before the apocalypse. He puts Austin on the bed, saying that he needs to rest, but the guy can't stay here because he has to save his friends. Abruptly, a wound opens in him, reminiscent of recent events. The man asks Austin not to worry about his comrades, assuring him that everything will be fine with them. He also mentions that Trouty's weaken in the light of the sun, which means that it will be safer to look for them during the day. Austin accepts such arguments and agrees to stay in the shelter until the morning. The man offers the guy to treat himself to his supplies, of which he still has a lot. Austin is happy that he will be able to eat delicious food, since he no longer remembers the last time he ate. The schoolboy thanks the man for the food, saying that it is one of the most delicious dishes he has tasted. Suddenly, Austin chokes on canned food, and his grandfather offers him a drink of water from a bottle. While the schoolboy does not see the man's face, he throws a strange glance at the rescued guy. Grandpa asks Austin how he was able to get here. The guy tells him that he and a group of comrades came from the Eastern Gate. The man understands that in addition to Austin, there are 2 more people walking around. After the meal, the grandfather takes the remaining tin cans to the trash. He offers Austin a mattress that the man has saved for guests, thereby making him feel even more uncomfortable. However, Austin still lies down on a new mattress, at the same time remembering his comrades. He looks at the hatch, which is the exit to the outside, worried about them. Austin imagines a creepy picture where hungry Liam and Vanessa eat tree roots out of desperation. Austin is frustrated that he can't help his friends. He looks at the canned peaches that are standing not far from him on the table. Austin decides that he can take a few cans with him, since the man has so many supplies. But at the last moment, the schoolboy changes his mind, believing that he is not doing the right thing by stealing from the man who saved his life. Austin returns to his bed, noting that his grandfather is still fast asleep. However, this turns out not to be the case. It seems as if the man was waiting for the guy to come to the canned food. Meanwhile, on the other side of the botanical garden, the protagonist escapes from the Tralty. Vanessa goes with him, who was wounded in the shoulder during this time. Liam also notices that the girl is injured. He asks her to be careful. Suddenly, he notices that one of the monsters is behaving strangely because it is going in the opposite direction. The main character notices a teddy bear sitting on one of the trees. The toy waves its paw to him, thereby urging him to follow him. Liam perfectly understands the teddy bear's gestures, already figuring out what object inside the chest will help him with the fight against the Tralty. The protagonist grabs Vanessa, who did not expect this, and begins to run. Liam continues to chase the plush toy, completely forgetting about the monsters that surrounded them. The main character is looking forward to opening the chest because he managed to earn a lot of yen from missions. However, when Liam arrives at the clearing where the supply crate stood, he doesn't seem pleased. It turns out that the chest to which the teddy bear led him is worth as much as 72 yen. This is very upsetting for Liam because he can't accept such a high price. He doesn't have that kind of money. People in the chat laugh at what is happening, reminding the protagonist that the price of the chest depends on the value of the item inside. Vanessa, who was sure that Liam would be able to save them, now had to bring the protagonist to his senses. She notices that the Tralties have already caught up with them. The typist grabs Liam and runs away from danger. At this time, the main character is trying to come up with a new plan to save them, but the only thing that comes to mind is the ignition of a tree. Suddenly, Liam feels drops of cold water on his thoughtful face. Tralty stopped under the onslaught of water, which makes the guys surprised because they didn't expect to see such a reaction from the monsters. The stranger who turned on the water and saved Vanessa and Liam waves to them, attracting attention. The main character notices this man, not yet knowing how to treat him. The stranger asks the guys to follow him because he knows a safe place. At the same time, Austin wakes up in the hideout, his eyes opening for a moment before he realizes that his heart is beating with increased force. He felt sick, his body weakened, and his mind clouded as if his strength was leaving him, leaving only a feeling of helplessness and anxiety in the face of the unknown of what might happen next. He called the man who slept across from him to help him up. Austin described his symptoms to him, also mentioning that he was very sleepy. Grandpa looked at the schoolboy very strangely, as if this was exactly what he expected. Austin also noticed the man's gaze, which made him begin to worry about his life. The man got up to approach the schoolboy's bed and take a closer look at his suffering. He pointed to the canned peaches that Austin touched, saying that they were smeared with some kind of compound. The guy agreed that he felt something strange, but did not pay enough attention to it. Austin tried to get out of bed, but due to poor health, he did not succeed. The man picked up the fallen guy, calming him down and talking about the fact that the cans were smeared with a drug that he got from the juice of Trelly. He put Austin back on the bed, covering him with a blanket to prevent him from catching a cold. Finally, the man said that when the guy wakes up, everything will be over. It became difficult for Austin to resist sleep. He only managed to curse his credulity before his mind became blurred and he plunged into the world of dreams. In another part of the botanical garden, the protagonist pondered whether he could trust a stranger. They had already managed to run to the man's hiding place and were about to climb inside. Until the last moment, Liam was not sure that the shelter would be safer than outside. While the main character was descending, he managed to notice that the shelter was quite spacious. The stranger reaches out his hand towards Vanessa and introduces himself as Thomas. However, Liam manages to respond to the man's greeting faster than the girl, thereby protecting her. This behavior seems strange to Thomas, which he says to the face of the main character. The guys have already managed to settle down at the walls of the shelter. Vanessa asked Liam for a bottle of water. Thomas, who was cooking dinner, said that the girl could take his water. He still had a lot of it. However, Liam says that there is no need to worry about them, thereby once again expressing his distrust. Vanessa notes the protagonist's strange behavior, to which Liam replies that they should be more careful. During this time, Thomas managed to get his mattress out of the supplies for the people he rescued. Liam stays sitting against the wall of the shelter, while Vanessa lies down on the bed. A few minutes later, the main character, who has already fallen asleep, is woken up by anxious comments from viewers from the virtual chat. Liam opens his eyes and notices a shadow looming over him. He finally wakes up, thinking that Thomas wants to strangle him with a cloth. Such an abrupt awakening of the protagonist frightens the man. It turns out that he just wanted to cover Liam with a blanket. The main character lies down on the bed prepared for him, noting that he has not slept so comfortably for a long time. Liam begins to fall asleep. At the last moment, he only has time to think about how Austin is doing now. Vanessa had long since fallen asleep. She was also very tired on this difficult journey. However, the main character does not plan to fall asleep, as he is afraid of Thomas's actions. He jumps up from his seat to take a closer look at the shelter while the man sleeps. Liam walks over to the cabinets of canned peaches to take a closer look. When he picks up one of the jars, he notices something strange on the lid. He immediately grabs the attention of viewers from the virtual chat, telling them his observations. It turns out that the label on the can and the label on the lid are from different companies, as if Thomas deliberately opened the can and sealed it back. Liam approaches the man, wanting to find out what he did with the canned food. The main character grabs Thomas and twists his arms. It turns out that the man has not slept all this time. Liam asks to confirm or refute his suspicions about the intentions regarding their lives. Vanessa wakes up to the sounds of the struggle, who does not understand what is happening. The protagonist asks her to bring them blankets to tie the man up until morning. He expresses his suspicions about Thomas Vanessa. This information surprises her. The man, being tied up in his own hideout, asks to be released, to which Liam replies to him to be patient until morning, as then they will leave, letting him go. Vanessa continues to sleep soundly in her bed. She has not been able to sleep so much for a long time. Suddenly, a sharp sound makes her open her eyes. Her attention is instantly strained, and she throws her head up. The girl goes to the sound that comes from the main character's side and begins to look for the source of the noise. It turned out to be the alarm clock on Liam's watch, which he carefully set before going to bed. While Vanessa was looking for the source of the noise, Thomas woke up and asked to be released. The girl continues to try to wake up the main character, saying that it is time for them to move on. But her attempts are unsuccessful. Liam sleeps too soundly. Vanessa asks Thomas to tell what happened to the protagonist, since he was there for him. To which the man replies that he does not know anything about what happened, and that Liam is just fast asleep. The girl senses a catch in Thomas's words, demanding that he tell her the truth. The man points to cans of canned peaches, telling her that they are smeared with poison that makes an adult fall asleep for a long time. Vanessa is angered by the man's words. She begins to demand an antidote from him. Thomas continues to pretend that he does not understand anything. He asks the girl to untie him. But in response to his last words, the man receives only a kick on the head. Thomas notes Vanessa's audacity. He did not expect such behavior from her. The girl says that she is not going to let the man go until he tells him where to get the antidote. Suddenly, Thomas spontaneously ignites. He is ready to be tied up. Vanessa tries to stop the fire with a blanket, but it doesn't help her much. In order to save Liam and herself, she tries to find a more effective way to put out the flames. Somewhere in the shelter, the girl finds a hose with which she directs a stream of water at Thomas. The man was just waiting for this. He grabs Vanessa by the wrist, causing her great pain. The girl falls with Thomas, but in the last one, she manages to put her knee forward, falling between the man's legs. Thomas twisted in pain, at which time the whole room was already engulfed in thick smoke. Vanessa tries to look around, but out of the corner of her eye, she notices movement behind her. Thomas had managed to get a gas mask somewhere during this time, so now he was not afraid of smoke. He grabs Vanessa, trying to immobilize her, his movements filled with sudden determination, his hands acting on an instinctive level. The girl is trying to save herself. She is trying to grab at least something with which to defend herself. However, she does not succeed. She does not have time to take a can of canned food. It falls to the floor. Vanessa begins to lose consciousness from the large amount of smoke and from the fact that her throat was clamped. But she realizes that she can't give up so easily, so she starts screaming loudly in an attempt to wake Liam up. Thomas tells Vanessa about her future. He says that she will become the fertilizer for the trees from above. The girl begins to lose consciousness, and with it, the last hope. A sharp gust of fresh air makes Vanessa open her eyes. Her mind clears. It was the main character who opened the hatch to the surface, letting all the smoke out. Liam's appearance was not part of Thomas's plans. He does not understand how he was able to wake up so early. The main character notes the man's mistake about burning the entire shelter. Thomas is still trying to figure out why Liam is standing on his feet, even though he has taken a large dose of poison. The main character, who has slept well, says that the man will have to pay for such an attitude toward guests. He grabs Thomas by the wrist, twisting him and causing severe pain, his eyes sparkling with tension as if trying to protect himself and his comrades from a potential threat. The man tried to hit the main character back, but Liam stopped the blow. He forcibly rips the gas mask off Thomas's face, wanting revenge on him for his suffering. Liam reveals his secret to such a rapid recovery. He says that his body's ability to regenerate is higher than that of other people. The main character grabs the man by the neck, not wanting to mess with him for so long anymore. However, Thomas breaks free from his grip and tries to bite Liam, who did not expect such agility. But before the man has time to reach the throat of the main character, he is stopped by a can of canned food that flew into him. It is Vanessa who seeks revenge for her suffering. She begins to kick Thomas. However, unexpectedly, she is stopped by the main character, who gently grabs her hand. The girl seemed to wake up from a fit of rage. She felt ashamed of her behavior. The protagonist grabs Thomas by the legs, wanting to make sure that he does not escape. A sharp cry of pain is let out by the man. He did not expect that Liam would dare to do this. In desperation, Thomas curses him and says that his grandfather will deal with him. Such news shocks Liam and Vanessa. They did not expect that there was anyone else in the botanical garden. In the morning, the grandfather who saved Austin is intently digging something and trying to understand where his grandson has gone. It turns out that he plans to bury the guy as fertilizer for trellis. Austin woke up to the fact that the earth was falling on his head. He still doesn't understand much about what is happening. Grandpa also noticed that his prisoner had woken up, saying that it was all thanks to Austin's youth. The schoolboy is already completely awake. He does not understand where he is and asks the man to let him go. However, the grandfather does not even think of fulfilling Austin's request. He continues to bury him. He says that the student has nothing to worry about. The roots of the trees will only absorb his nutrients. Austin is not satisfied with his fate to become fertilizer for monsters. He tries to get out of the hole. However, the man is against such a decision of his prisoner. He hits the guy with a shovel with all his strength, hitting him on the shoulder with it. Austin falls to the ground from sharp pain. He did not expect such cruelty. The grandfather continues to bury the schoolboy, working faster and faster with a shovel. Austin begins to kick the roots of trees reaching for him, not wanting to be eaten. The guy tries another method of dealing with the crazy grandfather. He begins to call him names, demanding to let him go. The man snaps at Austin and hits him again with a shovel, which is exactly what the schoolboy was waiting for. The shovel hits directly on the rope, tearing it apart. Thereby, the guy was able to free himself. Austin grabs a shovel, intending to deal with his grandfather with brute force. He pulls her towards himself, tipping the man into the pit, thereby equalizing the chances in this confrontation. Austin wants to know everything about what the man knows about his comrades. He demands answers to his questions. However, the grandfather does not plan to tell the whole truth about this botanical garden so easily. The man only mentions that there is also his grandson, Thomas, here. Grandpa grabs a nearby rock and presses it on Austin's sore shoulder. The next moment, he throws the guy away from him and runs to his shovel. However, Austin quickly recovers from the pain shock and kicks the man in the stomach. The schoolboy is the first to reach for the shovel, which immediately hits the grandfather's body. The man is no longer able to fight. He understands that Austin has defeated him and demands mercy. Austin once again tells his grandfather to tell him about his grandson's hideout so that he can help his friends. The man tells him everything he knows and asks him to take him with him to show him the way. But he could not have guessed that Austin has a phenomenal memory. This is what the schoolboy tells his grandfather, thereby leaving him no hope for survival. He ruthlessly finishes off the man with a shovel, trying to get out of here as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Liam has already emerged from the shelter and is now thinking about something. He is standing in front of the box to which the teddy bear took him yesterday. The main character Sauce asks his viewers from the virtual chat to help him with donations so that he can open the chest. However, no one wants to help him, so Liam tries to break the box himself with brute force. But nothing works. The main character is again in despair. Suddenly, he receives a message from the chat that gives him hope. We are talking about a kind of roulette, but he will not be able to play it now, so the main character is upset again. Fortunately, his faithful viewer appears under the nickname The One, who says that he can give him the missing money. But Liam may regret his rash decision in the future. After all, the main character decides on another adventure. He returns to Vanessa not empty-handed. It turns out that there was an axe in the supply box for 72 yen, which will help him in the fight against monsters. At the same time, on the other side of the botanical garden, Austin climbed out of the hole. Behind him, he left the corpse of his grandfather, which had already begun to be swallowed by the roots of the trees. Liam and Vanessa are running down the road, and they notice something strange ahead of them. It was an unconscious Austin who was trying to crawl with the last of his strength, bleeding. The main character takes the schoolboy in his arms, asking Vanessa to find something to carry. The girl says that there is a barn not far from them in which there may be something useful. Liam takes out his new weapon. He wants to use it to cut the lock of the gate. He hits the metal lock with an axe. Incomprehensible numbers appear from above, which the main character does not pay attention to. Liam pulls a cart out of the barn to get Austin faster. He and Vanessa put the schoolboy on it and are about to get out of the garden as soon as possible. Finally, they leave the forest and find a hospital not far from it. The guys bring Austin into one of the rooms to give him first aid. The main character discovers that all the shelves with medicines have already been cleaned. Liam says he'll try to look for medication in the rooms next door. He goes out into the corridor and examines it, trying to understand how safe it is to be here. The main character feels with his whole body that there is someone in this hospital. His instincts are sounding the alarm. So he goes back to Vanessa and tells her that it's time for them to get out of here. However, an unknown person appears behind him, carefully peeking out from behind the door. It turns out to be a nurse from this hospital, who for some reason was alone here. The main character and Vanessa are ready for another setup. They will not allow Austin to be harmed again. But the nurse quickly approaches Liam with a strange smile on her face. She points at Austin, saying that he urgently needs help or he will die. The nurse also notices that the guys are not good at the art of healing. She tells Vanessa what consequences can await Austin due to improper treatment. Liam is horrified by the nurse's behavior. He asks the virtual chat if there are supports in this game. Meanwhile, the stranger had already entered into a frenzy, describing Austin's future torments in great detail. With these words, she led the main character into an even greater nightmare and horror. His heart beat faster, and his thoughts were enveloped in a fog of fear. Suddenly, the nurse stopped with an eerie smile on her face, her eyes sparkling with a sinister light. But after a second, her facial expressions completely changed, expressing complete peace. Sometime after Austin's treatment, he began to come to his senses. During this time, the nurse managed to stop his blood and bandage his body. Liam and Vanessa had been worried about Austin all along, but now they were glad he woke up. The schoolboy tries to stand up carefully. The main character helps him in this. When Austin is able to get up, he notices that there is another person in the room. Liam tells the guy that he owes his life to this girl, for which Austin thanked the nurse. The guys did not wait for the schoolboy to fully recover because it was time for them to move on. Finally, the main character thanks the young nurse for saving his friend. Meanwhile, Vanessa takes the supplies out of her backpack and gives them to the girl as a thank you. The guys go further into the city. Austin is not comfortable bothering the main character so much, so he has to let him go. Vanessa notes that there are no walking dead in this city at all. Liam agrees with this oddity, but still asks her not to let her guard down. The girl says that it would be nice to have a snack somewhere. The others agree with her. They go to a nearby cafe to find some supplies in it. Austin notices the refrigerator and plans to open it to see what's in it. But at the last moment, he and Liam notice that the refrigerator doesn't make a sound, and they decide not to tempt fate. Meanwhile, Vanessa is glad that they have found such a secluded corner where they can eat in peace. The main character agrees with her. He says that he also plans to go to the nearest round-the-clock store for supplies. Fortunately, the stores haven't been completely cleaned yet, and Liam finds a lot of food. The main character was about to leave the grocery store when something stopped him. He notices a man outside who is watching him, as if not even blinking. It turns out to be a nurse from the hospital who wants to talk about something with the main character. She tells him about being abandoned by her comrades and that she wants to go with their group, especially since she needs to keep an eye on Austin. Liam didn't expect to meet her again. He senses the catch in her words, realizing that the girl just didn't want to be alone. The main character agrees to take a nurse into the group, which makes her unspeakably happy. But Liam has a condition after which she can join them. The main character returns to the guys alone, taking groceries from the store. From what he was cooking, fortunately, a gas cylinder was outside the cafe. Even from simple cooking, the main character manages to make a show, which is also noticed by viewers from the virtual chat. The guys have not eaten hot food for a long time, which brings them incredible satisfaction. After the meal, Liam says that he still has things to do and needs to leave. A nurse is sitting at the convenience store, waiting for the main character. When Liam approaches the building, the girl jumps up, glad that he did not leave her alone. The main character notes that the nurse was tested and showed that she was easily controllable. He says the same thing to the girl, claiming that she can go with them. Austin and Vanessa look very surprised. They did not expect a new addition to the team. The nurse says that she is glad to see everyone. She introduces herself as Maria. The main character informs everyone that the girl will now travel with them. Vanessa voices her concerns about the new person on the team. She is not sure that she can be trusted. Liam tells the others about the girl's difficult fate, trying to smooth things out. Unexpectedly, Austin decides to speak out. He says that he is ready to accept Maria into the team. He argues his decision by the fact that the girl saved his life, and now he must respond to her in the same way. Vanessa also agrees to accept Maria into the group, saying that she can't be the only one against such a decision. After everyone agreed to accept a new member into the team, Liam continued his story about how the city was also full of treacherous. The main character goes outside to show it. He hits the wood outside. Sap spurts out of the tree, which is not at all like the usual sap of the tree. Liam continues to slam the axe into the tree, noting that with each blow, a new number appears. Vanessa managed to get a radio while the main character went to the store. Now the radio has turned on. It says that the 75th Division calls on everyone to go in the direction of the railway and bus stations. Liam notes that Division 75 is incredibly organized for such a troubling time. The main character decides that the right decision would be to go towards the bus station. The guys move into the city. Well, clouds began to form on the street, heralding an imminent rain. Vanessa looks strangely at the protagonist, expressing dissatisfaction with the decision to go to the bus station. Liam then decides to reveal his plan. He says that his main target is a car. Maria is shocked by such a plan. She, as a doctor, cannot afford to rob people. But Austin reassures her, saying that most likely there are a lot of unnecessary cars left at the bus station. But before that, the guys plan to walk to Maria's shelter to wait out the rain there. Suddenly, Liam hears the voices of people in front, which makes him feel anxious. He grabs Maria by the clothes, thereby preventing the whole group from being given away. Unknown people turn out to be a local street gang that feels like kings in a post-apocalyptic world. The main character asks everyone to wait until the unknown people go away. A few minutes later, Maria shows everyone her hiding place. Her voice sounds quiet but confident. It turns out to be an underground manhole, which is not very pleasing to the others, since their previous acquaintance with underground shelters was not very successful. Maria managed to get a crane somewhere in order to lift the metal hatch. The guys are going down as soon as possible, as it is already dark and the trellis have become more active. As Maria descended, she began to shine a light on the remaining monster root. He reacted to this light quite unexpectedly. He closed the hatch from above. Maria explained this behavior by the fact that she was experimenting on trellis and discovered that they did not like light and wanted to hide from it. The rest are completely shocked by such resourcefulness. They still cannot believe what they have seen. The main character notes that it was the right decision to take Maria with him. He says this to the girl, which makes her embarrassed by such pleasant words. Maria leads the children to her shelter, which was very spacious and cozy. The protagonist discovers recordings of experiments on Trelly, which amaze him. Liam lays Austin on the prepared bed, as he believes that the schoolboy has not yet fully recovered. The main character gives the remaining bed sets to the rest of the team. Everyone went to bed, and since they were very tired, they all passed out at once. Only the main character could not fall asleep for a long time. In the end, he asks the audience to wake him up in case of danger. Liam sleeps soundly, unaware of what is going on outside. Suddenly, a woman's voice comes out of nowhere, trying to wake him up. Liam wasn't fully awake yet, so I'm not sure he hadn't dreamed the voice. The trellis root, which was attached not far from the hatch, began to knock the pipe. The main character notes that the audience could not wake him up, to which he receives an angry comment. Liam learns that one of his viewers spent a lot of money to shout out to him using the hands-free feature. He wakes up the nurse, asking her to deal with her houseplant, to which Maria replies that everything is fine and that the root will soon stop knocking. Immediately, the girl falls asleep again, and the main character decided to do the same. A few minutes later, a downpour begins in the water canal, which wakes Liam. The main character opens one eye. He still does not fully understand what is happening. He rises from his seat and notices that the water level has almost reached them. It wakes up everyone else, who also do not understand what is happening. Everyone begins to pack things that can still be useful to them on the trip. Liam realizes that they need to go upstairs, but before that, he asks the chat room if they know anything about Tralty's behavior when it rains. Maria takes out raincoats from her supplies, which she carefully found in advance. Liam, while putting on his raincoat, tries to find out from the virtual chat about what happened. He learns that there are monsters in this game that can affect weather conditions. Then the main character decides that the situation with the rain may be somehow related to the new monster. Liam takes the rock lying next to him and throws it into the water, waiting for a reaction. The stone falls into the water channel, causing a violent reaction, and a large monster appears from the water. Austin, who was already climbing the stairs, was shocked by what he saw. This unknown creature resembled a crocodile, only several times larger. The main character also did not expect to see such a huge monster. Meanwhile, the people from the chat said that this monster is called Alacroco. When the guys went upstairs, they found that the hatch did not open because the Tralty stood on top of it. Viewers from the virtual chat suggested that in order to get out, Liam needs to defeat a water monster. Then the main character remembers the trellis root, which hung near the hatch. Maria tells him that in order for a tree to grow, it needs a lot of water. Liam pulls out his axe and swings it, aiming to cut down the root of the monster that was holding onto the rope. The trellis root rapidly falls down into the water. Everyone is in anticipation of future actions. He disappears beneath the water, swallowed up in its dark depths, and in the silence of this moment, it seems that his presence is forever erased from the world. Fortunately, a huge branch of a tree appeared from the water, which grew several times. The main character expected exactly this result, so he is glad that his plan worked. A great confrontation between two monsters from different worlds begins. Tralty responds to the Alacroco's attack with a punch to him, his decisive and powerful punch tearing through the air like thunder and silence. Everything ended in favor of the tree, and with the defeat of the crocodile, the rain ended. There is only one monster left, which the main character is going to defeat on his own. He jumps down the stairs as the audience has given him a general mission. Liam falls into the water, eager to complete a mission that is to defeat a monster. He prepares to attack the Tralty and try out his new weapon, which he previously retrieved from a supply box. The protagonist swings an axe, his movement full of strength and determination, as if he is ready to cut the darkness itself into pieces and make his way to the light. He hits the log, causing him unimaginable pain. The sound of the axe meets the crack of wood. Fortunately, Liam has enough strength to cut the branch in half, thereby weakening his opponent. The protagonist continues to attack the Tralty. Meanwhile, with each blow of the axe, his score increases. New numbers appear until they reach a number equal to 10. Liam notices again that the axe is quite unusual, its blade gleaming in the light as if it has supernatural powers. But the main character has not yet had time to figure out what the secret of his new weapon is. The monster does not plan to die so easily to replenish its strength. It absorbs water. Then the main character begins a new series of attacks. His movements become even more decisive and powerful. He hits the Tralty 9 times, and on the 10th swing of the axe, Liam finally cuts through the trunk of the tree. From the power that Liam has developed, the bark of the tree cannot withstand it and is torn apart. The main character falls to the ground happy. He coped with the mission given to him. Tired, Liam says he's chopped wood for the rest of his life. The children are amazed by the courage of the protagonist. Their eyes reflect surprise and admiration for his intrepidity. Liam gets up from the floor and tells everyone that it's time for them to get out. His words sound like hope for salvation. The guys go outside. After walking a little around the city, they find a store. Austin just needs a new backpack. This store has absolutely everything, including things that will help in survival. An unexpected sound makes the guys distract themselves from exploring the store. Two strangers outside are looking for a man, but they can't catch him. The protagonist notices that the tattoos of these people are the same as those they met the day before. Vanessa also does not understand who these people are. Her eyes are looking for answers in the faces of others. Liam turns towards Austin and notices that he is standing still. The schoolboy looked very anxious. Even the monsters couldn't scare him as much as these people. Maria could not resist the desire to come closer to understand what was happening to him. The others are also alarmed by Austin's behavior. and Liam asks the student not to worry about strangers. Austin agrees with him, but his face is still anxious. The main character approaches the door of the store to find out if it is safe outside. When the children go outside, they notice that someone is approaching them. Liam also turns towards the person standing next to him, anxiously asking for help. Suddenly, in the middle of the word, the stranger is interrupted. He is hit on the head with a stone. Another man who caused the death of a person approaches. His face looks intimidating, and he expresses his displeasure that they had to look for this man for so long. The stranger notices a crowd of people, including Liam. The main character prepares for the worst and tells the guys to get ready to run. But suddenly the criminal recognizes Austin and points his finger at him, as if he finds a familiar face in him. The schoolboy did not expect this. He is not happy that his past can be revealed. The main character is trying to find out if the guy is familiar with these bandits or not. However, Austin cannot give a clear answer. He does not want to reveal the truth. Liam reveals that their group is armed and says that they just want to get out of here peacefully. But the bandit is not satisfied with this situation. He is not used to leaving witnesses. The protagonist, without hesitation, continues to protect Austin and everyone else. The bandit is the first to attack Liam with his bat, saying that he will finish them off quickly. He strikes swiftly, embodying his determination and strength in every move. But the main character turns out to be faster. He hits the body of the bandit with his axe. All this time, the criminal was not alone. His accomplices rushed to protect their comrade. Liam quickly dispatches them with a single punch, demonstrating his unrivaled strength and skills. There is no one left who could help the bandit. He is trying to insult the main character. But Liam now has a clear advantage, so he strikes another blow. Not wanting to fight in an unequal battle, the main character gives the bat to his opponent. The bandit is not going to miss his chance, so he rises to get revenge on Liam. His face is speckled with anger, reflecting the rage and determination that burn in his eyes. But the main character is only amused by this situation. He is completely confident in his victory. The bandit wants to deliver a swift blow in which he puts all his strength. But this time, Liam is faster. His reaction exceeds all expectations, allowing him to react quickly and act before his opponent has time to do anything. Then he delivers the final blow to the bandit's accomplices, ending the confrontation. The man realizes that he has lost the fight, and in desperation, he asks Liam to let him live. The main character turns towards the bandit. His axe is stained with someone else's blood. Liam notices how the man who was aggressive just now speaks to him with a note of pity in his voice. Maria also decides to help the main character, offering to cure the bandit so that he can be beaten again. The man continues to insult the guys, calling them psychos, and asks Austin to help him. But it is clear from the student's face that he hesitates, not really wanting to do this. The main character again asks Austin about his involvement in this criminal group. However, the schoolboy denies everything. He says that this is long in the past. Liam decides to ask the bandit if Austin is telling the truth, to which he receives a positive answer. The protagonist is about to end the man, but Vanessa intervenes. She suggests that before the bandit answers for his crimes, he will tell everything he knows. After a while, the criminal finds himself tied to a tree. He asks to release it, worrying for his life. The main character warns the bandit that if he shouts like that, he will be heard by the Tralty. He also notes that the roots of the monsters stretch under the entire city. Liam continues to talk about the torment that awaits the bandit if he continues to scream. To the words about help that the criminal utters, he replies that the man whom he killed also asked for help. Then the bandit can no longer withstand such psychological torture and tells the whole truth about the gang. This is how Liam learns that there are 20 people in the group, and it is called the Black Tattoos. The man continues to talk about the fact that they are in the city to find spare parts for their car. The main character learns everything he needed. Now the group moves on. Just before that, Liam remembers that he didn't do one important thing. The main character deals with all the witnesses of their presence in the city. After a while, several more people from the Black Tattoos group come to the scene of the recent events. They find that their comrade has died, and before his death, his life was not peaceful. One of the bandits suggests that this person was killed from another gang. Going further, the criminals notice the corpses of people from their group. The man notices that the bodies are still fresh and suggests that everyone find the one who did it. Austin tells everyone what he knows about the group, saying that their commander has a large scar on his face. Liam tells the student not to worry that he might interfere with the team, convincing him that these guys would have met them anyway. Austin also talks about the fact that in this group, people are divided into small groups. However, the main character still does not worry about the bandits, saying that there are only 17 of them left. Around the corner, Liam discovers a truck that is stained with blood. He comes closer to inspect the car. The main character assumes that someone has recently been attacked by zombies here. Maria asks Liam to come over to him. She finds that all the parts have been removed from the truck. The main character does not understand why the bandits needed to dismantle the truck, which was still in good condition. Suddenly, Liam notices that there is a man hiding behind the building who is watching them. The main character takes out an axe without hesitation, trying to deal with another bandit. But this man does not look like a bad person. He asks for mercy. The stranger says that he is the driver of this truck, and he was hiding here from the bandits. Liam does not fully trust the man, so he asks Austin if he has seen him before, and receives a negative answer. The man says that they were chased by zombies, and then they met bandits who killed his comrades. The main character thanks the man for the information and turns around to leave. The man is upset that Liam did not offer to go with them, so he reveals that it is not safe in the north, where the protagonist is going to go. Liam is not happy about this information. He wants to get more details. The man says that if they want to go north, they definitely need a car. The main character did not expect that the situation would be so serious and dangerous. The man also said that everyone who wanted to go north was killed by monsters that spread out like an impenetrable vine. Liam asks the virtual chat that they know about the monsters the man is talking about. Viewers tell him about the speed detector only in reverse, which reacts to slow-moving objects. The man says that things are no better in other areas. They are surrounded by monsters on all sides. Austin is worried that they will have to go south. He is not ready to meet the black tattoos again. He argues his worries by the fact that the bandits are well-trained. However, the main character asks Austin not to worry about the group. He will take care of everything. The man calls Liam an amazing person, noting his leadership qualities. Such words make the main character embarrassed. He asks the driver his name. The man happily introduces himself as Mason, his voice sounding friendly and confident. With the most angelic expression on his face, the main character again thanks the driver for the information. But Mason expected a completely different outcome of the conversation. He asked to take him with him. Liam notices that the man is no longer a tenant as he was bitten by zombies. Mason looks very upset, recalling that he may have been injured in a recent encounter with the Walking Dead. But unexpectedly, the man, with full determination in his voice, asked to cut off his hand to get rid of the infection. Mason's words shock the main character, causing him a feeling of misunderstanding. Maria warns Mason once again that there may be serious consequences after the operation. Liam prepares the table. Meanwhile, the girl wants to make sure the driver is ready to lose his arm. The main character ties Mason's hand to the table, trying to fix it as much as possible. A feeling of hatred can be read on the man's face. He does not want to die without taking revenge on the bandits. Liam asks Maria to disinfect his axe to reduce the risk of another infection. Meanwhile, the protagonist asks the audience if they can give him a new mission to save Mason. At his request, a few seconds later, Liam receives a joint task from users under the nicknames Tormented and Psychopath. But the main character is not entirely satisfied with the conditions of the mission, in which he must first cut off the entire finger of the infected hand. But still, Liam agrees to such cruelty in order to delay Mason's death. He asks Maria to help him support the man, to which she turns a blind eye to him. But the main character expected the girl to hold her hand. Liam picks up his axe, ready to complete a mission to save the man. Mason had a few more seconds to change his mind, but he stood firm. There were a few screams from behind the door, and Vanessa and Austin were glad they didn't have to be in that room. After a while, when the screaming has completely stopped, they go inside to inquire about Mason's situation. Vanessa and Austin are frightened by the picture that appeared before their eyes in the form of a bloody table. The main character says that the operation was successful. It remains only to wait for Mason to wake up. Suddenly, the man jumps up. He looks quite cheerful. It seems that the spread of the infection was stopped. The main character successfully completed the mission, so it was possible to delay Mason's transformation. The truck driver is glad that he is okay. Liam's assignment saved the truck driver's life. From happiness and gratitude, Mason bows in a reverent gesture to the main character, his gesture expressing deep gratitude. Screams of some people can be heard from the street, which make Liam tense. It turns out to be another bandit who, in a fit of rage, kicks a tire from a wheel. The main character approaches the window to take a closer look at the unexpected guests and overhear their conversation. The bandits discuss their captain, whom they are afraid to go to, since they did not fulfill his order. They are not happy with having to collect truck parts all over the city. The bandits began to look even sadder during this time, but still they decided to go back to the captain, having only a wheel with them. The protagonist returns to his team and talks about what he heard. Liam wants to know the group's opinion on what to do next and how to get the car. Everyone unanimously proposes to deal with the bandits before they have time to go far. But the main character does not like such a plan. He wants someone to first track the criminals and find out the location of their base. Mason offers himself for the role of a scout. He wants to get even with the bandits on his own. After a while, the man begins to follow the criminals, trying not to give himself away ahead of time. Suddenly, the bandits stopped, their faces filled with fear and respect at the same time. They saw in front of them the right hand of their commander, who for some reason was walking around in this part of the city. The captain said that he was looking for a daredevil who dared to attack 3 guys from their group. He also urged not to tell the commander about the incident so as not to anger him again. The bandits are shocked that someone dared to attack their group in this city. The hooded man says that he will deal with this daredevil, and only then will he report to the boss. The bandits split up. Mason, who heard the entire conversation, notices that the captain has gone in the direction of Liam and the guys. He thinks about who he should follow in order to be more useful to the team. After all, he runs after the bandits who were returning to the base to figure out its location. Sometime later, Mason returns to the building, where they have agreed to meet with Liam's team. The first thing he notices is a strong blow from Vanessa on the back of the bandit. Mason then sees how ruthlessly Austin deals with his opponent. And Maria, who has always been kind to him, is now piercing the bandit's eye. What he sees shocks Mason. He did not expect that these guys are so strong. Meanwhile, Liam fights a bandit captain who threatens to kill the protagonist. Liam wants to end in the meaningless conversation as soon as possible. The only thing that interests him is whether the bandit is involved in Austin's suffering. The man turns to the schoolboy and calls him ungrateful because he believes that their gang helped Austin. Liam suggests that the thug fight on equal terms as captain and captain, portraying it as a fair way to resolve the conflict. But the man is not so brave. He is looking for other, less honest ways to fight. Then he notices the recently approached Mason, who looks quite harmless. The man takes him prisoner, threatening Liam that if he takes even a step, the truck driver will die. The main character had a better opinion of the bandit. Now he understands that he miscalculated in this matter. The man pointed the knife towards Mason's chest to distract Liam. He cuts the truck driver. The main character does not have time to react, so now Mason's life is in danger. The bandit runs away, believing that he has a chance to break away from the main character. However, Liam doesn't plan to let the captain go so easily, so he starts chasing him. The main character catches up with the bandit and stabs him on the back with an axe. Liam says that the most important moment in such a show is the apology part. With growing anger, he delivers another crushing blow with an axe to the bandit. Liam plans to beat the man until he is ready to ask for forgiveness. The bandit belittles the protagonist to stop beating him. He is ready to apologize. However, Liam says that the man should apologize not to him, but to Austin and Mason, to whom he inflicted physical and moral injuries. The main character grabs the bandit by the hair and hits his face on the ground with all his strength, saying that words alone are not enough. He must be on his knees. After a few such bows, Vanessa breaks down and asks Liam to stop. The others agree. The main character stops beating the bandit. In any case, he achieved what he wanted. Maria approached Mason to inquire about his condition. She notes with regret that the infection has penetrated deep into the body and has begun to spread through the man's body again. The truck driver apologizes to the guys. All their efforts were in vain. The main character tells Mason not to worry about them. He also asks the man if he managed to find out the location of the bandit's base. The man, ignoring the hellish pain, gets back on his feet. He wants to lead the guys to the group. Liam approaches Austin and asks him if he is ready to end his dark past, to which he receives a positive answer. The bandits were resting at the base. It looked like they were having some kind of holiday. Mason interrupts their merriment by shouting, thereby trying to attract their attention to himself. Such impudence makes the bandit commander, whose name is Roy, look at the man. Mason says that he cannot forgive them for the death of his comrades, and they will answer for all their crimes. Roy is ready to teach the unexpected guest a lesson. For this, he takes an iron pipe from one of his subordinates. The bandit is serious and determined. He is not going to leave Mason alive. The truck driver also does not plan to retreat. He once again curses Roy and his entire group. While Mason was playing the role of decoy, Liam's group approached the bandits behind their backs and now began to advance rapidly. Austin strikes, not sparing those who once harmed him. His actions are filled with determination and retribution. Roy only manages to notice how the ranks of his subordinates are thinning from the sudden attack. The main character also begins to attack everyone who gets in his way. Liam rushes punch after blow, leaving behind only a splatter of blood that resembles the wings of an angel of death. Roy, suddenly recognizing Austin in the heat of battle, feels an instant flash of vague memories that awaken old feelings. The main character gets to the commander of the Black Tattoos. He asks him if Roy is involved in the suffering of the schoolboy. The man thought that Austin hired Liam to deal with him. The main character did not reject his assumption. Liam's blow fell on the iron pipe. The boss of the Black Tattoos was not as weak as his subordinates. After a few series of punches, which the protagonist easily replies, Roy realizes that Liam is too strong. He, mixed with feelings and emotions, asks the main character not to approach him. The boss of the Black Tattoos remembers his subordinates. He turns around and realizes that they are all already dead. During this time, Mason sneaks up on him from behind and bites him. The main character watches the transformation of a truck driver into a zombie. The boss of the Black Tattoos escapes first, thus further disappointing Liam. The main character approaches Mason. He is grateful for his help in the fight against the bandits. Fortunately, the truck driver is not yet fully infected with the infection, which gives hope that the situation can be under control. Liam is a little upset that Roy ran away, but he realizes that he couldn't have gone far. He makes one last request to Mason, as if aware that he is close to the end. The truck driver has almost turned into a zombie, but he still agrees to help Liam. Meanwhile, the boss of the Black Tattoos hides in the building, waiting for the moment to escape. Suddenly, he hears the voices of Vanessa and Maria. Roy realizes that he will soon be found, but he does not want to give up so easily, so the man finds a new weapon for himself. Roy meets with Austin, who was once his toy and now the boss of the Black Tattoos has lost everything he had because of him. He throws the accusation of betrayal at the schoolboy, thereby putting himself in an even worse light. But Austin disagrees with him. He recalls how Roy forbade him to go to school and bullied him. The man believes that the schoolboy felt too free, so he wants to teach him a lesson. Austin wonders why Roy ruined his life and the lives of others. The boss of the Black Tattoos says that the schoolboy came to them himself, but the guy disagrees with him. He says that all the bad thing he did was just start smoking. Austin suggests that Roy figure everything out here and now, and for this he needs to go down. However, already on the flight from above, the boss of the Black Tattoos was discovered by Vanessa and Maria. Their faces express a desire to deal with Roy so that he can't hurt anyone else. The man goes downstairs to hit Austin, but the schoolboy manages to close the door in front of him. Roy hits the joint hard. He curses the guy for treating him like this. The man was left alone with Vanessa and Maria, who are hungry for his death. Roy manages to escape from them and get out into the street. Such success brings him relief and hope for the possibility of survival in this dangerous situation. Outside, he discovers a truck that his subordinates have been repairing for a long time. While Roy was examining the car, the main character crept up behind him. The boss of the Black Tattoos again pathetically escapes from Liam in an attempt to save his life. The man runs to the truck where he finds his subordinate sitting behind the wheel. The protagonist catches up with Roy and hits him from behind so that he loses consciousness. When a man wakes up, he cannot understand where he is at the moment. He finds himself tied up in the car in which he previously wanted to escape. Roy turns his head to the side and notices that his subordinate is riding next to him. But this turns out to be a deception. In fact, the truck is driven by Mason. Since it's been a long time since the truck driver got infected, he finally turns into a zombie. The car rolls over at high speed and begins to lose speed. They just managed to get to the moment where the vines were waiting for them, which climbed out to catch new victims. They captured Mason, who was no longer human. His only feeling was hunger. The monsters also took the bound Roy with them, who cursed everything that was happening. The protagonist watches as the truck in which Mason and the bandit were exploded. Austin asks Liam what they will do if their car is damaged. In response, the main character jokingly asks the schoolboy if he is sad that all his former comrades died. By this point, Vanessa finds another truck, which thankfully doesn't need to be repaired. The girl says that they got a good transport, which resembles a train in size. Maria also did not waste time. She managed to get souvenirs for everyone, which she took from the corpses. Everyone reacted positively to the girl's hobbies, and Liam asked him to find another couple of hours. The main character is glad that capable people have gathered around him, together with whom they have a well-coordinated team. The guys set off. Vanessa decides to clarify the direction of their further travels. Liam suggests going east to Jeju Island. He thinks it can be safe there. The truck successfully crosses the blue line, which indicates that the main character has passed the storyline. In honor of this, he has many new opportunities that pour down on him at once. Also, the main character learns that he can only have 3 skills of each type, which are divided into permanent and one-time. Liam discovers that there is another new feature that he has not heard of before. A microphone appears in front of him. He asks the virtual chat what this icon means. Liam says the word deaf and the price is set at 100 yen. The countdown begins while the viewers from the virtual chat laugh at the fact that no one will buy such a skill. The main character also notices the countdown, which is already smoothly approaching the 0 mark. When the number reaches 0, the microphone icon disappears, indicating that the time has run out. Liam realizes that in order for his offer to work, someone from the chat must spend their money. The protagonist decides to try this feature again with this very offer. Only this time, the price is set to 1 million yen, which is even more expensive than the previous cost. Abruptly, the truck begins to brake, as something has blocked their way. The main character notices that barricades are installed in front of them, which were clearly erected by human hands. Then the whole team decides to cross the bridge to the other side on foot. The main character notices that the water level in the river has risen significantly. Ahead of them stretched a terrible sight, a large number of wreckage of cars. Austin doesn't think it would be a good decision to go across the bridge in this case, but Liam is confident in his decision. The sound of an explosion is heard on a bridge nearby, which once again makes everyone doubt the correctness of crossing the bridge. Liam notices military binoculars, which brings even more alarm. On the other side, explosions are also heard, the sounds of which quickly reach the team. Maria says that the explosions are approaching them, and they are still only in the middle of the bridge. Everyone begins to run forward, trying to get ahead of the inevitable explosion of their bridge. Liam decides to take advantage of the new feature. He offers viewers to pay for him to go through fire, and in exchange, he will receive double speed. But the price for such an offer is set at 100 yen, which is too expensive. The main character is also penalized for using 3 unsuccessful sentences. An explosion resounds right on their bridge, breaking the silence and making everyone there shudder. The blow fell directly on the supporting structure, so the bridge begins to collapse. Liam fails to stay on it. He begins to fall rapidly into the water. Maria tries to reach out to him, but she fails to grab him. Her fingers only briefly touch him. The main character falls into the icy water. All he hears are the screams of his comrades. A voice from the virtual chat tells him to swim to the left, but Liam is having trouble navigating space as rocks fall around him. Liam continues to swim. Meanwhile, the voice says that he doesn't have much left and must hold out. A few minutes later, the main character is thrown onto land. He is unconscious. Liam wakes up and thanks the audience for their help. Now it remains to understand where he is. The main character notices that only Maria's medical bag remained from his friends. Therefore, he asks the viewers from the virtual chat to help him with a coin to comfort him at least a little. Liam is genuinely worried about his friends, trying to figure out which way he could have washed them away. Suddenly, the sound of motorboats breaks into the silence. The main character turns around at the noise. It turned out that a soldier from the 75th Division blew up all the bridges and was now inspecting the surroundings in search of survivors. The main character understood this from their conversation. It turns out that the soldiers are even worse than he expected. The military already wanted to sail to their base, since they did not find anything and no one. But unexpectedly, one of the soldiers is pierced in the chest by a tree branch, which exploded as a result of the explosion. Liam turns his head to see if it's really a trellis or a new monster. The protagonist is horrified to discover that there are monster trees on this side of the river as well. The soldiers try to save their comrade. They open fire on the monster. But the military does not really understand the direction, so the bullets fly, including near Liam. Another soldier was killed by a trellis, and the monster threw the body aside of the main character. Liam doesn't feel too sorry for the soldier, but he is glad that he can take his weapon from the corpse. The last surviving soldier tries to start the boat so that he can sail away as soon as possible, but he does not succeed in this. And in the meantime, the branches manage to wrap around the body of the soldier. The main character decides to intervene in the confrontation between the trellis and the soldier. He argues his actions by the fact that the tree has already noticed him in any case. The monster didn't like that someone dared to interrupt his attack, so he changed his target to the main character. But the tree does not take into account that there is water ahead of it, in which it begins to drown. The main character notes that the monster killed himself because of his imprudence. The last survivor of the military finally manages to start the boat. Liam notices this, but he doesn't plan to let go of the soldier he suspects of blowing up the bridge. However, the military does not want to listen to the main character. He wants to leave this place as soon as possible. The main character shoots next to the soldier because he needs the information that he possesses. Liam manages to get dry, clean clothes, which he begins to change into. He approaches the captured soldier to find out from which station he arrived. But the man does not plan to enter into a dialogue. His look angers the main character. Liam notices the soldier's defiant eyes, so he pokes his fingers in his face. The only thing that interests the main character is why soldiers from the 75th Division blew up bridges. To get an answer to his question, the main character is forced to use force. With each passing second, Liam is getting angrier. He does not understand why the military is killing civilians. In the end, the soldier gives up and admits that the bridges were really blown up by the military. But such a short answer does not suit the main character. It gives the soldier one last chance. Liam can no longer stand it and says that the reason for the explosion of the bridges is the unwillingness of the military to take more civilians with them. The main character calls out the password that he heard from the mayor of the city before his death. The face of the military immediately changes when he hears familiar words. Liam decides to outwit the soldier. He says that he is one of the high-ranking people. The main character continues to invent a story about how his original plan failed, and therefore he has not yet made it to the 75th Division. The military cannot fully believe his story, but he begins to trust Liam more and more. The reason why they chose to save the main character, Liam calls the fact that he is an excellent mercenary. These words are enough for the military to believe the main character. Viewers in the virtual chat are surprised at the gullibility of the soldier. The man says that the 75th Division is an organization to provide assistance in case of emergencies. Further words bring the protagonist even more shock. It turns out that the mission of the 75th Division is to gather useful people to restore the collapsed society. Liam tries to hold back the laughter that bursts out from such stupid speeches. The main character thinks about all the information received. He realizes that those soldiers who are sent to Jeju are only part of the army. The soldier confirms Liam's thoughts, but he also says that he cannot name the number of men in the 75th Division. The protagonist wants to find out where the safe zone is. He already realizes that Jeju can be one of those places. The soldier reveals that they are all planning to gather at the airport to depart for the island. The main character did not imagine that the military were planning to risk moving by plane. The last thing Liam wants to know is why all the bridges were blown up by the military. The man says that they don't need a lot of people, as it will be difficult to control them. Such words anger the main character even more. He did not expect such cruelty from the military. The soldier is already beginning to suspect that Liam has no plans to free him. The protagonist is angry, saying that blowing up bridges is more like destruction than salvation. The military does not like this wording of their actions. He does not think that he is doing badly. Liam understands that the soldier's worldview can no longer be fixed. He believes that the man is obsessed with this idea. The man's face looks stern. It seems that he really believes in what he says. The main character learned all the information he wanted, so he no longer needs a military man. However, before firing, he notices that a zombie is approaching their building. Liam grabs a soldier. He wants him to die the same death as many civilians in this city. After a while, the main character reflects on his further actions. He realizes that he needs a raft to get to the other side of the river. Liam decides to look at the items in the virtual store first. Maybe there is a boat in it. But with regret, the main character finds only a lifebuoy in the form of a flamingo. The main character once again examines the river and realizes that the military boat has already been swept away by the current. Liam thanks the viewers from the virtual chat for the money they send him as a sign of support. Suddenly, the same tree that attacked the military appears from the water. It notices the main character and begins to chase him, rapidly gaining speed. Liam decides to run into the building in the hope of escaping the monster. He manages to hide from the tree, which, fortunately, loses it among the houses. The protagonist runs to the roof of the building and discovers that the monster is about to walk back to the river. But he doesn't plan to let go of the tree so easily, given that Liam himself needs to go towards the river. He, being in a desperate situation, takes a can of canned food from Maria's bag and eats it in one gulp. The main character makes an unexpected decision and throws an iron can down to the monster. And then he jumps down himself, thereby making the virtual chat once again surprised by Liam's unpredictability.